Oh, hoy, hoy. Welcome in. The spot to be. I am Tyrell McLaughlin. You can follow me on Twitter at wherever my thing is. And I'm very pleased to be joined by the four horsemen of fantasy football goodness. First up, Jules to stage right. Already a YouTube video under your belt today on this fine Friday evening. What's good? You're not spent, are you?
No, man, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a lot of fun, man. We got a great crew, and I'm going to have a blast.
Ditto. And our logistical genius tonight, Jimbo. Logistical genius kind of sounds like one of those old Wu-Tang name generator names, if you ask me. So does Nasty Nastic. And I really enjoyed your Gold Jacket video the other night with Connor and the newest TNFF member, Tyler. Make sure you're following our new member, Tyler, at Dinostradamus on Twitter. So, Gaim, happy Friday. Thanks for taking on the technological burden tonight.
Oh, yeah, man. Logistical thing sounds like 2 pay grades above, like, my pay grade, so I don't know about, like, all that. I'm just going to I'm a button pusher.
You're getting paid for this?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, DBrown, you should be on the payroll by now. Danny B, Georgia's finest, co-creator, Dynasty Sons. Everyone, y'all know him by now. At DBrownFF88 on Twitter. Thanks for coming on.
Honestly,
How you living?
One of my earliest and favorite early followers is DBrown.
Yeah,
Him and I go back to like May or June of 2018 when I first started this account, for sure.
Absolutely. Stoner was one of the first guys I ever really kind of linked up with. As far as we had 2 good things in common, that's fantasy football and smoking herb. So we were right off the bat, good friends. But I'm glad to be back here with you guys, starting to feel like a regular at this point. So I can't thank you guys enough for having me back on here, and I'm excited to break down this week's slate with you guys.
Yeah, excited to have you. And yeah, you are 100% part of the family. That's what holidays are all about. And everyone, you heard them. I notice, everyone, you don't smoke weed. I notice, but I'm going to get you high today because it's Friday. You ain't got no job and you ain't got shit to do. So pass me to Fantasy Green. Remember the Undroppables. Make sure you're following them. They have a litany of good guys over there at the Undroppables on Twitter. But make sure you're following the Fantasy Stoner. Thanks so much for coming on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. I don't think I've ever actually, maybe I've been on this show once.
We did like the NFL draft. I think we did a stream that night. Yeah,
it's very similar to something like this. But
like you were one of my first follows on Twitter as well.
Yeah, and I know you put the grind in, so I always appreciate and acknowledge you guys. And I love the boys from the north. Even though you're Canadian and you get better health care than us.
Better herbs sometimes too, and I didn't even mention
I
your
disagree
Twitter.
with that, but we'll talk about that.
Well, you know where to find it, that's for sure. So at Fantasy FB Stoners, where you can be hypnotized by the beard. But yeah, just thanks so much for coming on. Hope your holidays are going good. And in honor of having Fantasy Stoner on, I'll make sure I try and rip the bong a couple times during this episode for sure. The other thing, well, it's right beside me here. So the other thing that's kind of different is we're recording on a Friday, right? Why that really changes the dynamic, I think, is that's our news dump day, right? Like the day usually provides us with more questions than answers, and there's been
also
a ton.
Why it seems perfect for me to roll in and join you guys on a Friday, because like you said, we ain't got shit to do. So let's go.
Exactly, and it's just one of those days where everyone has questions. Everyone's asking everyone about everything, and today was one of those days where just a whole bunch of news came out. So. I would love to break down last night's game because it was spectacular, but we really don't have time because we have a baker's dozen of games to get through, and I would just end up talking about Anthony Lynn for 10 minutes or whatever anyway. So apologies, but I'm sure folks have had their share of recap content from last night's barn burner anyway. So what I want to do is, because of last night's game, like there's going to be some fantasy owners that are ahead. Some owners have fallen behind in their matchups. So that can alter our decision-making, shift our strategies a bit. So now that we're in the semifinals, I see you rolled your way into the semis. Dios mío, man. Name that movie, Stoner. Do you know that movie?
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
I see you rolled your way into the semis. Dios mío, man.
It sounds a lot like a dodgeball or something like that.
It's Big Lebowski. So everyone make sure your kids,
okay,
everyone make sure
perfect.
make sure you've seen that
Absolutely.
300 times.
I'm actually disappointed that I couldn't remember that, to be honest.
I shouldn't have put you on the spot with such a mean one because I
No,
know you've seen it. I knew you've seen
Put
it.
me on the
That's why.
spot. It's fine. I don't care.
Well, get used to it, buddy. So I want to
But
talk about.
I was locked into your question about. I mean, you were talking about last night's game and the fantasy implications, and I, at 7:53 or something last night, put Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen back in my semifinal lineup. I moved Chris Carson out of the flex and put Keenan in my wide receiver spot and moved Brandon Ayuk back in the flex. And I moved Tannehill out of my quarterback spot and played Herbert. So I was I was very disappointed in the way that Keenan performed. But at the end of the day, their projections were right around 42 points, and I got right around 42 points. So I can't be too disappointed when I look at from that perspective, because honestly, if I didn't play Keenan, I probably would have went with Tannehill because my other wide receiver is A.J. Brown, so I would have stacked it that way. One way or another, I'm stacking. So I think it's all about perspective. I got lucky because I had the quarterback as well. But Keenan Allen sucked the life out of a lot of people's teams yesterday. And it sucks because he was so good all year long.
I know.
Literally is the reason that I'm here. He was him and James Robinson, the most consistent players I had all year long.
Well, I think like Tannehill versus Herbert was a really hot topic leading up until Thursday Night Football. So I think you made the right decision. As for Keenan Allen, I think a lot of people, you're right, got stung with that decision, but I do think it was the right decision. We see more often than not, we sell those limited snap count kind of narratives that we see come out. Having said that, Jay Glazer, ear to the grindstone kind of guy, so we do listen to him a little bit. What do you guys think about Drew Brees? That's the big news of the day. Like, Vegas must have known something. We also heard Brees was practicing with the ones during the week, but yeah, the total didn't move much during the week. It's one of the highest point totals on the board this week, and the Saints weren't as big of a underdog as we kind of thought. So some of that makes sense now, but for fantasy, what are your thoughts, DBrown, on the decision to bring Drew Brees back? Do you think it's too soon? And can you comfortably start him at home against Chiefs in the semis?
Coming off of a long absence, I wouldn't feel great about starting Drew Brees, but if he says he's good to play, they said they've kind of been cautious with the approach. So, like you said, I think Vegas knew something that ahead of time because, coming in the spread or sitting at 3.5 points, I think it was. And, I'd hammer Kansas City all day at that. But, Drew Brees comes in and makes it a little bit more interesting. But Michael Thomas has already been ruled out. I basically think
it's possible that those two bits of news, they coincided so quickly that it didn't cause the line to shift so much.
It's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm. But I just think we look back on some of the totals we've seen with Taysom Hill under center, and they've just been catastrophic, right? Like they've been in the lower 40s in the last few weeks. I know one of those was the Kendall Hinton game, but I just was surprised. Like I was thinking all week, like why is this total so high? Even though it is, in the dome and it is Kansas City, I just thought it was interesting. Stoner, what do you think? What do you think Taysom Hill's usage looks like now that Drew Brees is back? Is he going to be in throwing passes a handful of times, or is he going to be limited to just running back tight end snaps?
I think the beauty of it is they've got options with him now, that they've ran a bunch of plays that they maybe haven't run in the past, and they maybe feel more comfortable calling something different. But I got to believe that on short yardage situations and within the 5, maybe first and goal from the 4-yard line, that he's going to be in there and he might eat up some of those potential scoring opportunities for Drew Brees. But if you got Brees in a 2-quarterback league, you're probably throwing him out there as your second guy. But I'm hard pressed to play him over dudes like Phillip Rivers or even Mitchell Trubisky. And I always call him Mitchell because it just sounds so proper. I find it hard to believe that a 42-year-old dude that had 11 broken ribs, unless this is like a Kurt Schilling story, where he poured ketchup on his sock back in the day. Like, come on. Did he really have 11 broken ribs, or were we exaggerating? So,
And a punctured lung.
But I told you guys in the chat, like, if I'm a defensive line, if I'm Chris Joe, one of those guys on the Colts, I'm taking a 15-yard penalty to slam Drew Brees to the ground with every pound that I have just to see if he can get back up. Is worth 15 yards.
Yeah, and I like what you
and
said.
Yes, I'm an asshole. I get that.
just for your Kurt Schilling conspiracy theory, but I love what you said off the top there. Like, I really agree. They have options. Like, he's even shown that he can at least sometimes throw the ball. So you have to account for that. Whereas, before we saw him as a starting quarterback, teams could just load the box when he was in the lineup there.
I mean, losing a guy like Michael Thomas is not great. I mean, if we look at his numbers, he's been getting peppered, right? He's been getting a lot of targets the last couple of weeks. He's caught some balls. He's not really been great, but when you take a talent like that out, especially with Brees back, I was like, man, it's slant central for him, and it was dump off central for Kamara. And now if you got AK on your squad, you got to be the happiest dude in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. AK slays from far away all day till the day we die. So the other news I'm looking at here, Raheem Mostert, that's a guy who doesn't get targets. The one thing that stands out, though, for your 49ers, Stoner, is that the run game for San Francisco is just set to blow against the Cowboys' ridiculously god-awful run defense. We got word today that he's going to be a full go. So do you think he's a locked-in running back, too, for fantasy this week? And can you still start Jeff Wilson as well?
I think both of them are probably more solid flex plays than an RB2. I wouldn't feel as comfortable with either one of them as an RB2. Because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's also possible that they both put up numbers that are worthy of RB2. I mean, 80 yards plus and a touchdown is not unreasonable for either one of those guys. It's difficult to know who's going to get the touches. The only person I truly trust in that offense this week is Brandon Ayuk, because that dude is so silky smooth. If you're throwing them in your flex, I'd do it. I would play Mostert over Wilson, I believe. But I don't even trust that, to be honest. Ayuk's the only guy I love.
Yeah, and he could even get a couple carries and score the rushing touchdown with Deebo Samuel out for the year now. So that's the other thing. Jimbo, give me your thoughts on the Saints quarterback situation if you want. But I also want to ask about the Cincinnati Bengals, because Brendan Allen's going to be out. Jeff Driscoll's going to be the starting quarterback. Does that move the needle for you at all about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, or does it not change things much?
You know what, man? A couple weeks ago, I said I wanted to see T. Higgins really perform, without Burrow, and so far he's checked the boxes that I want to see anyway. No, I don't think that the needle moves at all, depending on one of these two quarterbacks. Maybe Boyd a little bit. If I pulled up like who's around him on the ECR, I'd probably not play him, but not T. Higgins. T. Higgins doesn't move it at all for me, because it's crazy. As a rookie, I don't think he's really getting talked about enough because of Justin Jefferson's and the Brandon Ayuk's, which, by the way, Brandon Ayuk, another guy, I think he should be getting talked about way more than he really is. So no.
He's so goddamn sexy when he plays.
Yeah, I like Ayuk, man. I like what he does. Doesn't move it for Higgins though, but I would play Russell Gage over Tyler Boyd, and CeeDee Lamb over Tyler Boyd, and probably Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, and Brandon Cooks is a tough one to call too. So same question for Daniel Jones and the Giants. Like, they've been one of the worst offenses of the season. Jules, I'll go to you. What do you think about Daniel Jones or Colt McCoy? Like, does it make a difference for somebody like Sterling Shepard or Evan Ingram? And also, Evan Ingram popped up on the injury report today. So I'm pretty much just asking, do you have any confidence in any Giants player for fantasy this week?
Not in the receiving game, man. I'll flex out Wayne Gallman. But I'm not feeling confident about any of these pass catchers whatsoever. That's just ugly all around.
It's tough,
it's weird. I think I have more confidence in Ingram with Colt McCoy at the quarterback position than I do with Daniel
if he
Jones.
even plays, I don't feel confident with Ingram
I'm
if he's
playing
injured.
against Ingram, so I hope he's dead, but not really dead. Like, I hope he's just dead for this week, right? Like, that'd be great. His backup is like Hayden Hurst or somebody who hasn't done shit.
Yeah, and what I've noticed there is that Wayne Gallman and Evan Ingram are kind of synonymous in a sense. Like, if the running game is going, they don't need Evan Ingram to be catching these extension of the run game bullshit passes or getting runs like earlier in the season. So I think if the offense is performing better in the run game, I think it's better for Evan Ingram. But I really, it's hard to trust this offense this week, even in a decent matchup, just because there's so many question marks and so little upside from the quarterback and from guys like Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and what's his face, who's just gone off the face of the earth, Darius Slayton as well.
Hey, so we got to believe that Ingram, hold on, we got to believe that Ingram got hurt like yesterday or today in practice then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe like today was the
I don't
first
even
day
know
he
if he
popped up
played
on the injury report.
That's nerve-wracking, man. Those late week
It's a huge one to monitor.
And that's pretty awesome if you're playing against them, but it sucks if you're banking on them because I mean, has he done anything? I'm bringing up his numbers right now.
Yeah, he's had a couple games. He had 100
He's had
games
as many fumbles as he has like spiked.
Look, he ain't done shit in 5 weeks. He's only had one good game. So,
and he mostly sucks, man. He drops passes all the time.
If he plays or if he doesn't, if you're playing against them, like who cares? Colt McCoy is just not good.
So there's lots more injuries to get to as well. Like Julio is out, Ronald Jones, Damian Harris, James Conner. We're going to get to those guys more. Like we'll touch on them inside of their matchup. So why don't we just go to the matchups
2020
here?
is on a thick one. Like everybody's getting hurt. I think I might be day to day.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, week to week here for sure. So the first game, I guess we'll do the Saturday games first because there are 2 Saturday games this week, which makes some of these injury decisions even more difficult, especially for somebody like James Conner who plays on Monday Night Football, right? So the first game I have here is the Carolina Panthers at Julian's Green Bay Packers. And this is the nighttime game. I guess I should have hit this one second. But we hope the Panthers would be getting their 2 best weapons back for this game, and in turn, fantasy owners would get them back. But Christian McCaffrey not playing. DJ Moore looking like he will play, but DBrown, DJ Moore is pretty sketchy right now because he's still like limited in practice, I believe. Are you confident in rolling him out there as a wide receiver 2 this week?
I mean, confident is definitely not an adjective that I would use. If I find myself in a bind and needing, I think I'd start him, definitely. But if I have any, top 24 options at the position, I'd probably likely to roll them out ahead of DJ Moore this week.
Yeah, and I think it's a tough game to decide whether you're going to break ties for or against it. Like, it does have a 51.5 total. Green Bay is heavy favorites, though, so you expect Carolina's going to have to play catch-up. And, like, last week, I like the under in the Packers game against the Lions. It hit. And thinking more about this one, like, I'm a lot more optimistic in this game. Green Bay is one of the highest-scoring offenses in football. Carolina gives up 25 points per game. But the question is, what do you think, Stoner? Can Carolina keep pace in this? Like, that's the thing that kind of wrenches up the whole outlook on this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have the ability to score some points, but the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing is just kind of filthy at this point. I mean, not to mention Carolina is not great on the defensive side of the ball. So, like, you got Aaron Jones who can crush. I mean, I hate Jamal Williams. Shout out to Term. Like, he's just not, like, they're not good defensively. Could they score some points? Sure. I don't trust DJ Moore. It's been a few weeks. He's been out with COVID. I mean, Robbie Anderson seems to be a guy I play at best. Like, Mike Davis is really the only dude I trust on that offense. And I'll probably be cool playing Teddy Bridgewater as a super flex spot because garbage.
Do you think he has a ceiling?
Garbage points seem to be a possibility here. And that's really what I'm shooting at. Like, if you're throwing him as your super flex, you're hoping that they're getting blown the fuck out and he throws for 300 plus because they're getting blown out. I'm scared because I'm playing against Devontae Adams, and I don't know what to expect from him because he's really good at American football.
I bet he'd be good at Australian rules too. So
yeah, he'd probably be good at rugby as well.
Yeah, get off me, anybody, I think you would say. So, like, these teams played last year to just a 40-point total. So I kind of worry, like, Green Bay is just so frustratingly good at limiting the play volume of their opponents this season. It's been really remarkable. And that means, like, Aaron Rodgers, there is some downside, but I totally agree, Stoner. Like, this might be the best we've ever seen Aaron Rodgers. It's incredible. If you think of that proposition,
he came in on a sick one. I don't know what somebody did to upset him, and it might be
Jordan Love.
No, I think you're wrong. I think when he broke up with Danica Patrick is when things shifted.
Shifted gears, you could say.
Yeah, she was the dream killer. She was the widowmaker. She just took the life out of him, and now all of a sudden he's got 40+ touchdowns and minimal interceptions. And the world is scared because I don't want to play him in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like what I think about is last year, these two teams played. I know Joe Brady, we have a lot more optimism on the Carolina Panthers side of things, but Aaron Rodgers last year didn't have a touchdown against the Panthers in their game, completed just 17 passes, quarterback 23 in week 10 for fantasy last year. The other thing is it was just a pure Aaron Jones game. Like I think the running backs are where we're kind of keyed in on in this game. Like, you know, the Packers defense is just a run funnel this year. So if we look to the running backs for fantasy, this is just a great game to target for DFS or whatever, break ties for. Both teams give up tons of production fantasy points to running backs. Aaron Jones, top 5 running back. He scored all 3 offensive touchdowns for the Packers versus the Panthers last season on just 13 touches. He actually had 0 targets in that game even, but scored 30 fantasy points. Thinking about Jamal Williams, did I say that right? Yeah, so anybody but Stoner, can we start him as can we start a second Green Bay running back in this cake matchup?
Oof.
You know, I don't know that I'd feel great about it, but I mean, Jamal actually has come in and kind of showed a steady floor in the games that he's been out there thus far. And, you know, with a cake matchup like this, I kind of expect Green Bay's rushing game to kind of flourish. Along with, I do like Mike Davis, but he's really the only option that I'm feeling against this Green Bay Packers, a night game where the temperatures are probably going to be hovering around 25 degrees in Green Bay. You know, I just don't.
Bro, 25 degrees is cold.
Yeah, I just don't expect Carolina and Teddy Bridgewater to come out here and really perform. I expect kind of a strong showing from this Green Bay defense, even though they're a little bit beat up. You know, and Aaron Rodgers, I love him. I love Adams, but this is an Aaron Jones game. Like Ty said, the running backs are what's favored in this game, and I want to get them in every place I can.
I love what you're saying because, like I said, I'm playing against Devontae, so that just made my heart feel good.
Devontae is going to get his. Don't let me fool you.
Oh, okay, stop talking now.
And Mike, I think you're right about Mike Davis. Like Stoner. Yeah, Stoner, DBrown, you guys both mentioned Mike Davis. I think he's like a big, easy play. Like, I have a lot of tough decisions to make, but I'm starting Mike Davis in almost every one of those tough decisions because Green Bay gives up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. Nobody in the NFL has forced more missed tackles in the receiving game than Mike Davis. Nobody has given up more receiving yards to running backs than the Green Bay Packers this year.
And I think that cold weather leads to a shorter type of pass game. I mean, it's just going to be. I would be surprised if he didn't catch 5 balls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Mike Davis scores twice. I'm putting him in my monkey knife fight touchdown.
I like that.
Ooh.
And Aaron Jones. I'll match you. I think Aaron Jones scores twice.
Totally. I think,
I hope so.
We could see what was the record we saw on Monday Night Football with the Ravens and the Browns? Was it 9 rushing touchdowns?
It tied the record.
DBrown was the one that was tweeting that out long before anyone.
Dude, I was digging.
Nobody else was.
I was like, I can't remember the last time I saw a game with this many rushing touchdowns. I started digging, and I found that exact stat that they ended up pulling up on the big screen.
He started hitting group chats at 7. He was like, "Yo, there's 7." And then I think you tweeted it out at 8 and then 9, right?
Yeah. As soon as 8 rolled around, I was like, all right, we're only 1 away from the NFL record here.
Yeah, the tweet was already sent, bro. Like he was ready. He was on top of that before everyone. Just make sure everybody knows that.
Check.
At DBrownFF88, make sure, better recognize. So, Jimbo, rank the Carolina wide receivers, weekly exercise, buddy. But I think actually more importantly, how much separation is there between each of them?
Oh, okay. Now you're adding layers.
Layers.
DJ Moore is at the bottom for me. We're gonna build this like a cake. We're gonna go from the bottom up. DJ Moore is at the bottom for me. I don't really trust him.
He's talking about cake. I think he has the munchies.
Yeah, a little bit. Curtis Samuel is going to be that. It's going to be that like middle trifling layer. He might get a touchdown. No, CMC
Chunky peanut butter.
Not in there.
I think he meant truffle and not trifling. Trifling is like a bad thing.
Yeah, I know, because like he's gonna fuck with your Robbie Anderson.
Those trifling truffles.
Because Robbie Anderson's gonna be that whipped cream on the top, right? Like he looks good, but it's just a lot of fluff because Curtis Samuel is probably gonna vulture a couple touchdowns and not really give you that meat that you want out of Robbie Anderson there. So that's what I'm going with.
Phrasing.
Take wide receiver.
No, and I think you kind of answered my second question in there. There isn't much separation if you have DJ Moore at the bottom of that list, right? These guys are all pretty much wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s, or flex plays with upside. So I think that was a perfect answer. Like, what do you think, Jules or Stoner? Like, is Christian McCaffrey being out? Like, does that really bump out Curtis Samuel? Like, is he going to see? Like, is he a top 24 wide receiver? I'm asking basically, with Christian McCaffrey out.
I don't think he's top 24, but I'll put him in the top 36. You know, I think he's a wide receiver 3, and I'm pretty confident with him in my flex there. But you know, realistically, at this point in the season, if we're talking about people who are still in the playoffs, Curtis Samuel is probably not the guy you're playing. You probably have a better option. Like, you know what I mean? Like I say, this guy's back 36 player. I'm not too excited about it. If you're still in the playoffs and you have to play Curtis Samuel, kudos.
Yeah, for me, it's Robbie Anderson. If I'm stuck playing
100%.
wide receiver
It's
on Carolina Panthers, it's easily Robbie Anderson. I mean, he had 8 for 80 something last week, and the week before that, he had 90 plus and a touchdown. Man, I know he struggled a little bit, but he's got more double-digit games than he does single-digit. So, yeah, Robbie Anderson seems to be the guy that has the best connection with Teddy Bridgewater at this point. I mean,
he praised his 10 targets.
Yeah, honest. DJ Moore's been sick. I'm not trusting him. Curtis Samuel is like a wild card.
Well, I just asked about Curtis Samuel because I'm starting him in a couple places. Maybe erroneously, maybe I will be pulling him out after this.
Definitely erroneously, but you might also
pull him out now.
I'm telling you guys, Kevin King.
He's gonna get a
Jair
tutty,
Alexander
man.
and Kevin King are a dynamic cornerback duo. I thought Jules might back me up on this. Like seeing Jair Alexander and Kevin King go out there as cornerback, like those are mean cornerbacks, and that's DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson's matchups this week. Whereas Curtis Samuel can be moved around the formation, moved away from those. He'll be the guy that I think a lot of the game plan is actually drawn around with DJ Moore not even practicing. Right?
I feel that, but for me, it's like I said, garbage time. It's law of averages, right? Like at the end of the day, if you got 10 balls thrown at you, eventually you're going to get one that the other guy's going to catch. So the more they have to throw and the more I think the Packers are going to beat the shit out of them and they're going to have to throw in the second half. So to me, it's more garbage time, law of averages. I don't trust any of those pass catchers. Like I said earlier, Mike Davis is the only dude I'm playing, but if I was stuck playing Robbie as a wide receiver 3 or a flex, I would be okay with that.
Yeah. So Devontae Adams, super stud, 8 games in a row with a touchdown, chasing history there. Back-to-back games over 100 yards receiving. Gets a really easy matchup this week. How do you guys feel about the rest of the wide receiver room? Like, is it, I think we kind of alluded to it, is it Adams or bust, or is there any interest in the Alien Lizard, MVS? Who do you guys prefer between those two, actually, then?
Bobby T, baby.
I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. It's kind of a toss-up at this point. You know, previous to last week, I think Lazard had out-targeted MVS, pretty substantially. And then last week rolls around just when you're starting to get comfortable with Lazard. And MVS kind of ends up being the big winner. I think he was 80 plus and a touchdown off maybe 4 or 5 receptions. So it's just kind of a toss up. Like I said, I'm really kind of depending on Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. Outside of that, I'm not really feeling great other than kind of, looking for a pivot off of an injury. Jamal Williams, maybe. MVS is kind of more boom or bust. He could absolutely hit, got a great matchup. This is one of those defenses that you can really beat deep, and he's been in the upper echelon of deep targets throughout the NFL this year. So MVS, I don't mind him in a dart shot. Great for DFS purposes as well if you're looking for a flyer.
And I like Alan Lazard more than MVS, like ostensibly or whatever, like as a talent or whatever. He's going to spend his time in the slot, so he's going to see a heavy dose of Jeremy Chin. Yeah, so Jeremy Chin's, defensive rookie of the year candidate. I really like him. Mm-hmm. And for MVS, like I really agree with what you said, DBrown, but I agreed with that last week too, against Detroit. Aaron Rodgers threw just one deep ball against Detroit, against that secondary and that economy. I thought that was just wild last week. And Stoner, you mentioned the only other guy we had to mention, right? Bobby T. Robert Tonyan is in your lineup. The only concern is the Panthers are a top 10 matchup for tight ends in fantasy on paper. So he's like ranked as a top 5 tight end. But they're one of the stingiest teams in the red zone against tight ends. It's trippy.
I've been a fan of that dude since right around week 2 or 3.
I said him over Sternberger all offseason.
Right before he hit that 3-touchdown game, I'm going to pat myself on the back again. I tweeted out that I was all in on him to be a top 8 tight end. And I think I undersold him because he's like top 5 right now.
8 might be less incompletions than Aaron Rodgers has throwing to him. And less touchdowns than he has on the season.
I knew that Adams being out was going to be a reason for him to have a big game, but I also knew that it was going to go a long way towards building that trust and that rapport. And it's pretty obvious that, he's the number 2, aside from Aaron Jones, maybe. Like, he's the second guy that Rodgers trusts when he's dropping back in the pocket. So, yeah, he's the guy. I mean, the position, unless you got Kelsey or Waller, there's no reason for you to not start Bobby T. And maybe Hawkinson is the third guy that you would consider over Bobby T. But, like, other than that, he's a top 4 or 5 tight end. You'd be an idiot to not play him. I don't care about the matchup at this point because the position is way too thin.
Guys, I wanted to ask you this because Robert Tonyan's he's scoring on 19% of his targets right now, or on his receptions right now. Like,
which is better than his which is worse than his catch rate, I think.
Yeah, like that's
catch rate is better than
yeah. But like, what are we doing with him in Dynasty? Like, do we trust him moving forward? 26 years old, he's got Aaron Rodgers for the next at least year. We're not really sure how much longer after that. Like, are you guys buying?
I'm buying. He has upside. Like, what you're chasing at the tight end position is the upside. Why not bypass the few years of incubation period that tight ends take anyways, and just have this guy on your – I have him on a ton of Dynasty rosters just because I'm always chasing upside at the tight end position. That's so hard to find difference makers in. And, yeah, I'm a huge fan of him, so I'm buying. Yeah, and it might constitute as a buy high, but I'm in.
I just bought a share this week actually on a team that I'm contending in, one of the Undroppables leagues, and made a trade with Jax Falcone. I traded away 2 seconds for Tonyan and Cole Beasley, and it's a start 2 tight end league, tight end premium. So. I needed some help at tight end. Higbee and Everett, haven't really been coming through. And then Hurst has really fallen off towards the end of the year. So, I had to make a move on a team I'm contending, and I do like him. I kind of have him hovering around my top 8 tight end in Dynasty range, somewhere between 8 and 10 right now.
Look, you got that dude who is friends with George Kittle and kicks it with TJ Hawkins.
Baby Kittle?
Like, I mean, give me that.
He's kicking it. He's kicking it with 2 of the top 5 tight ends in the league, working out with them. He's got them promoting him. That dude's got the mentality.
He's got
be
that mindset.
a player,
Yeah.
and he's got one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football right now. And he plays in a position that is very weak. Like, in the grand scheme of things, there are only 3 dudes that you can really trust at the position, and Kittle has been getting hurt often. And next year, you might bring in Kyle Pitts. I know you love him. And I'm a huge fan of that dude. And there are a couple other tight ends that I think are really good. I actually have a secret, a little tight end that I like that I won't mention right now from college. But, like, the position is weak. So, like, that dude doesn't have to be Darren Waller to be a top 5 tight end.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Pitts is top 5 for me.
What's that?
Pitts is top 5 for me, and I don't care what the landing spot is.
I think Pitts will be a top 7 for me at best, but I respect what you're saying.
All right.
But at
mean,
best,
whoever
no
drafts
fan. All these guys that we love, all these talents are what ifs. That's the definition of tight end position, and every year we see it be a barren landscape, like Stoner's saying. So I say take your shot on baby Kittles and stuff like that. And guys, I don't know how many games Robert Tonyan has had this year with multiple touchdowns, but I know he's had at least 1 or 2 games with multiple touchdowns this year. George Kittle has never had a game with multiple touchdowns, just for the record.
You settle
situation
yourself with that disrespectful George Kittle talk. Take that
I'm just saying.
Because I'll come to Canada.
George Kittle and Green Bay,
even though Canada won't let us in because of COVID, I'll come to Canada and whip your ass. You talk about George Kittle like that.
Man, give George Kittle, Aaron Rodgers,
if you're in Victoria, you always got a place to say.
What is
okay,
that?
so can't spend 40
that
minutes
was
on
a bomb.
Here, guys. We got to move on.
Yeah. Okay, I go outside. I thought he was just slurping.
Cole Beasley.
But by the way, that
I
multiple
think,
TD game was week 3 versus Atlanta.
So he just has the one?
Yeah, just this year, just the one.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't had any other 2 game touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know. He had any other touchdowns.
One more than
this
Kittle.
year, I think.
So
no, Tynan's got a bunch of touchdowns, bro.
Yeah. He's got
I'm just saying he has one.
Previous one this year,
it was a 1-3 touchdown game against Atlanta week 3.
Yeah, that was week 3.
No, I'm saying previous to this year.
Oh, previous to this year, I didn't look. Previous, I thought you were talking.
I don't think he's ever scored a touchdown.
That's what I was saying.
This year.
Yeah, no. You guys want to hear something funny real quick?
He scored a huge one in prime time.
Jules, tell me a joke.
Always.
Yo, this was like a month and a half ago. I went to my wife's funeral, grandma's funeral, and her uncle told me he's talking about
your wife's funeral.
Yeah, she's still alive. Don't worry, guys.
Jesus,
I just got nervous because I wanted to tell the story quick. But anyways, he's telling me about his fantasy lineup, and he's like, "Well, I got George Kittle and I got Robert Tonyan, and I'm thinking about dropping George Kittle because I got Tonyan." And I'm like, "No, man, what are you thinking? Don't do that." Yeah, he's clueless, man. And I've tried to teach this guy fantasy for 3 years now. I've been trying to help him out, and every year he shows me his team, and it's like he took Le'Veon Bell in the 3rd round this year.
Jules, is this guy not reading?
That's the guy,
man.
Dude, I keep telling him, I'm like, check out the podcast. What are you doing, man? I don't get it.
Tanya has scored
You're giving him
the
poker.
So
you're giving him the answers.
I know, but this is why you can't trust people who are from Saskatchewan. We got no true Northers from Saskatchewan for a reason.
Saskatchewan bastards.
Yeah.
All right,
Tanya has scored 2 more touchdowns.
Are they called Saskatchewanians or something?
All right,
What
Ty,
the
get
fuck?
us back going here, Ty.
I don't know.
We're under into a black hole
Can't
here.
spend 40 minutes on a game, boys. Can't spend 40
All right,
minutes on a
sorry,
game.
guys.
Unacceptable.
Sorry, guys. That's my bad.
Saturday
I had to tell you.
afternoon matinee delight. Saturday afternoon matinee delight. Buffalo Bills at the Denver Broncos. Bills offense, we know, can put lots of points on the board. Broncos defense has been prone to give up shitloads of points at times. I don't think they'll have trouble scoring like Buffalo, but Bills D has really underperformed this year, so we hope, they're giving up over 375 yards per game to opposing offenses. But the offense opposing them this week is Denver, who suck. They score 20 points per game. So They're actually one of just 4 teams scoring under 20 points per game. So the over-under is under 50, 49.5. Denver is plus 5.5, so you're getting almost 6 points with Denver. Do you guys think Denver will be able to keep pace in this game, or any worries in general? Because we see games underwhelm offensively in Mile High all the time. So do we think this actually goes like in a depressing fashion?
Man, I feel like Denver always has these weird upsets, but I'm a big Bills believer, and I think they run away with this one. I think they just got to, if they can't beat the low tier teams in the NFL, like, they don't deserve to be a Super Bowl contender. And I think they're going to prove it this week. We got to see what they got.
Yeah, what was the over-under on this game, Ty?
I think it's 49.5.
49.5, and these guys played last year, and it was a 23-point total.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind.
Denver.
I wouldn't mind slamming 20 down on the under on that game.
I got to be honest. I've seen a lot of football games in my day, and I've seen a lot of teams that beat a team like the Steelers that they weren't supposed to beat the week before, and then they come out the next week and they're flat and they got a little bit of an upset.
That's a great point.
Do I think the Broncos are a better team? Absolutely not. But you got the Bills traveling on a short week to Denver in a high altitude. I could see it being a bit of a struggle. And the longer you let a team like the Broncos stay in the game, the better chance they have to win. I think Buffalo should go in there and run right over them. But I'd be a little concerned if I was a Bills fan. I got to be honest. I'm sensing that the game's going to be a lot tighter than people want it to be.
I hope.
Yeah, and I think even if the Bills come out and win the game, I just worry that it will be kind of a low-scoring affair. And last year in the game that these two teams played in Denver, Buffalo just ran the ball, milked the clock. They had 35 minutes of time possession in that game. They had almost 250 rushing yards. Ran the ball 47 times to 25 pass attempts.
Yeah,
Somehow
like
no rushing
20
touchdowns.
to 13 or something.
What was the passing total here?
Stupid game like that.
Well, I didn't even see the Josh Allen passing totals, but he had a couple touchdowns, and he also rushed for a touchdown. He just had a couple passing touchdowns. So, he didn't have a big day, but he was, he came out and did okay.
Because I think they need to win this
Josh
game,
Allen
right?
is.
they do, yeah.
And I think Josh Allen for fantasy is set up pretty nice. Like, the Broncos give up the 4th most rushing yards to quarterbacks. Nobody has allowed more rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. Like, is anybody worried? He was the quarterback 10 last year. I just looked it up versus Denver. But he only completed 15 passes. So, it was one of those really efficient games. But they really just ran the shit out of the ball. And I think I'm asking because there's a lot of wide receivers that we're looking at in this game. So, Jimbo, I know you love Gabe Davis, Cole Beasley, John Brown is back. How do you rank
It's
those
all,
wide receivers?
no, he's not. Brown is out.
Brown,
Right?
I think Brown's
I
still
think he's
out.
cleared. He's cleared.
Brown
today.
is out. So David.
John
I think
Brown
he's
is
cleared, but he's
okay.
not playing. I think he's still out.
It's Stephon
really?
Diggs, bro. You didn't even mention. How do you mention Gabriel Davis and not Stephon
Because
Diggs?
he's a top 5 wide receiver in football. He doesn't
So
need to be
you-
mentioned on the spot.
UCF.
Everyone's starting him everywhere.
Gabriel
That's
Davis.
what his name's, Todd.
Unless you're
I love
worried
it.
about him. Bring him up if you're worried about him.
I don't think anyone needs us to tell them to play Stephon Diggs.
I'm just
I'm
saying you
mentioning him.
mentioned him because he deserves to be mentioned.
He does.
Agreed.
I love
Agreed.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I think he deserves the benching too.
I'm not sound.
I'm just- I'm
I was a big fan of him at Maryland. I thought that he was underrated in college, and I wish he would have went to a better school because he would have been the higher draft pick. But that dude's been nothing less than spectacular.
Oh, absolutely. No, he's a dog.
So-
man. He's got a good dog mentality.
Yeah, we love Stephon Diggs. Breaking news. So, what about these running backs? Because nobody has any clue with what to do with these running backs. And the Broncos have given up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs over the last 5 weeks. Running backs scoring over 28 fantasy points per game over that stretch. What are we doing with Singletary and Moss? It looked like Singletary was taking over this backfield, but it looked like running back by committee last week. Stoner, are either top 24 options for you? Fantasy football playoffs.
Also, I'm going to start by saying I don't like to call it a running back by committee. I feel like the better option is to call it a tandem backfield. And I know that a tandem is generally like two people on a bike or some dumb shit like that. And most backfields are two people. So I don't like to call it a tandem backfield, or I like to call it a tandem backfield rather than a committee. Because I feel like if you're running back by committee, you don't really know what the fuck you're doing. You're just kind of winging it. So I guess the question comes down
That's
to
how I feel in this backfield.
Hold on. So if it's super cold, yeah, I'm happy with Zach Moss, to be honest. As a dude who went to Utah, he knows how to play in that type of weather. I might be content with him as a flex play, but I'm not playing Singletary at all. Melvin Gordon's probably a dude that I'd throw in a flex spot from the other side. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. Josh Allen and Diggs are the only two I can trust 100%.
All right. Well, I'll take that Singletary side of your Moss, sir. So yeah,
he was the running back 16 in the game against Denver last year, Singletary, and that was obviously Frank Gore, the other guy in the backfield. He had 15 carries in that game though, and Singletary was still able to produce.
All hail Frank Gore.
All hell. All hell.
Where's the helmet?
It's back there.
So DBrown, are you willing to start Singletary as a top 24 guy?
No, he's just outside my top 24, but I do have him slightly ahead of Moss. You know, Moss is more in the 30, 32 range for me, while Singletary's probably in the 26 to 28 range for me this week.
The thing that sucks about Moss is that Allen is going to take his touchdowns from him. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the shitty part about Zach.
Well, both of them really.
And the team is passing more too. I think that's the other thing. Like, it's a confluence of events that we don't want the running back in Buffalo as much as we used to. And honestly, between them in that whole backfield, just 6 top 24 finishes at the running back position all year. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Stoner, you mentioned that Melvin Gordon is somebody you'd start over these Buffalo running backs. I agree. He is a little banged up. How confident are you in him this week, Jimbo?
Me, Melvin Gordon, I would play him as a low-end RB2.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Probably RB 23, 22 on the week for me. Not really confident in him, to be honest with you, but I'm not really confident in the entire Denver offense, right? Like, it's not a horse I really want to hitch my wagon to. Fuck, I don't know. I'd rather probably feel – let's pull it up real quick. I definitely feel more comfortable playing – actually, I feel more comfortable playing Wayne Gallman. Man, like, if you – that's call what it is. I'd rather play Wayne Gallman. I'd actually rather play Antonio Gibson coming back with turf toe if he actually plays on a limited count.
I don't think he's going to play.
What about the other guy in that backfield? What about J.D. McKissick?
J.D. McKissick, PPR, yeah, why not, man? He had a 2-week stint of over 29 targets.
I'm playing him over Melvin Gordon, too.
Dwayne Haskins is quarterback this week, so be careful.
I like Dwayne, man.
That is true. That is true.
This could be the week of redemption, right? Like Mariota, Haskins.
I don't like Dwayne, but I don't like.
Let's get Josh Rosen in there.
So speaking of bad quarterbacks, we got Drew Lock throwing to this motley crew at wide receiver. That's really been, a seesaw. So Jerry Jeudy, sadly,
did you just call Drew Lock a bad quarterback and try to be sneaky about it?
Why is he good now? Because he had the 4 touchdown game.
I just want to make sure because you had 19 shots of espresso today and you sped through it because we got Broncos fans that are listening.
And if they're Drew Lock fans, you're probably gonna have to suffer through him for another year at least in 2021.
If you're Drew Lock
Jerry Jeudy's somebody
bad for you.
Mm-hmm. But I think Jerry Jeudy is somebody that is really hard to figure out this year. I mean, he has one good game. It came week 9 against DBrown's Atlanta Falcons. Second easiest wide receiver matchup. That was the only top 24 wide receiver finish he's had all season. So, DBrown, are you done with Jerry Jeudy for this year? Is he dropped in redraft leagues?
Yeah, as far as redraft, I'm not gonna put him in any of my lineups moving forward in the playoffs. But as far as I'm concerned in Dynasty, he's a buy right now. He's still one of my favorite wide receivers out of this class. Hopefully, I'm not going to hold my breath on Denver, but hopefully they can get this quarterback situation shaked out Jerry Jeudy is an elite prospect, and he's coming in. I love Cortland Sutton. He's another great dynasty buy right now. You can probably get him probably pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things, and he's still a top 24, top 25 wide receiver for me in dynasty right now. And, sitting on IR all year long, that'll bring his price down, and quarterback controversy in Denver, both Denver guys I'm looking to buy, and even Hamler, who seems to be coming on and, at least being efficient with the limited opportunity he's been getting, even with Drew Lock under center. If Denver Broncos can get their quarterback situation worked out, between Fant and all the options they have, they're a good young team, and they're a good quarterback away from really getting to fire off on all cylinders.
And they have a really tough decision with restricted free agent, highest scoring wide receiver in fantasy this year, Tim Patrick. In the last 6 games, only Kendall Hinton's quarterback fiasco is the only game he's fallen below double-digit PPR points. He has twice as many wide receiver 2 finishes than Jerry Jeudy and Hamler combined. Do you guys think we can start Tim Patrick this week in fantasy football playoffs?
Yeah,
Man,
I'll start him as a deep flex option. To be honest, he's probably the one Denver wide receiver I would consider as a deep flex option. I think game script could favor him as well. He should be able to soak up, 7-8 targets fairly easily, I would assume, in this game.
I like Tim Patrick a lot, to be honest. I think just he's built for this league. I really wish that they get some good quarterback play, because Patrick, Jeudy, and Sutton with, Gordon and Lindsey and Fant, like that is a filthy offense. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
that is
Patrick's
crazy.
Really solid
I'll
offense.
see him coming back.
Fire Pat Shermer.
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
That's the other thing we need.
Hamler, it's still a really good offense.
Get some young college coach to come in there and shake it up.
Ooh, yeah.
Somebody that can come in to actually get the ball to the playmakers as well, not just a kid who seemingly shows up 1 out of every 4 games.
And just for people who like regression,
Sorry, go on.
just for people who love good old regression to the mean, I just have a good one for Tim Patrick here. Only one wide receiver in football has over 7 deep ball receptions this year, but has yet to score a touchdown. That's on passes that travel 20-plus yards in the air. And it's Tim Patrick, and he has 10 scoreless deep ball receptions. In fact, he ranks ahead of Will Fuller, just below Devontae Adams, 6th in the NFL in receiving yards off deep ball targets. And yeah, it's over 100 yards more than someone like Brandon Cooks, who's 2nd off deep ball targets when it comes to receiving yards among wide receivers who don't have a touchdown from them. So it's just crazy that he's due for a deep ball touchdown.
If you weren't listening,
he's going to score. Guys who score 10 deep balls, guys who don't score on 10 deep ball receptions are due. That's all. And wide
100%.
receiver corps in Denver have 15 drops this season.
What's weird is that I'm clearly a 12-year-old, because when you said deep balls, I just laughed.
Love it.
Well, I'm just saying that Tim Patrick has a lot more in him, a lot more to give. Just going ultimate phrasing.
keep pushing the gas on that one.
Anybody worry about Tre'Davious White lining up with Tim Patrick instead of Jerry Jeudy? Anybody worry about that?
I think he's on Jerry Jeudy most of this game. You know what? We see Tim Patrick kind of move around and move to different parts of the field. And, I think you guys are right. He's the only receiver I like in this matchup. He's probably going to get a good chunk of reps out of the slot. And, Price sees 8 to 10 targets plus matchup. It's not pretty, but there's worse options you could do.
Any interest in KJ Hamler, or does the Hamburglar just kind of muddy up the fantasy waters for all the pass catchers in Denver?
Man, I can't play a guy who's boom bust like that, in my opinion, after he's come off of 2 touchdowns. It's just not going to happen again. It's not reputable. Hamler's showing flashes this year, and I do think he's a dynasty buy along with Jerry Jeudy, like you're saying, DBrown. But this year, I don't really want to be starting a whole lot of pieces in this offense in redraft leagues.
Yeah. So really quick with the Buffalo wide receivers, like John Brown, I'm pretty sure is set to return. I can't. Maybe I should bring it up, but
Well,
I'm pretty sure he's set to return.
Give you a 2.4.
Well, I don't like. He's not limited. Like I think he's just was on the IR, and they can activate him as late as Saturday, right? I think that's the way it works. As far as I know, just make sure you're monitoring that. But Denver has actually allowed the third fewest fantasy points to wide receivers over the last 5 weeks. But over the last 10 days, they've lost their top 2 cornerbacks. AJ Bouye was suspended. Duke Dawson went down against the Panthers last week. And so what are we doing with John Brown if he plays? Are we starting John Brown, or do we think he'll be eased back into the offense?
No,
what does that do for your
you
boy
don't start
Gabe
John
Davis?
Brown, and
He's out. Yeah,
For the record,
John Brown's on.
He is out?
The only people you feel comfortable starting in this game is Josh Allen and definitely Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen.
I do like Gabriel Davis as a deep dart. He's been pretty productive. He's been pretty productive so long as John Brown has been out, and I don't mind going back to that well one more time.
Secondary is banged up too.
Yeah, and so, we talked off the top a lot about how we think this game might go. If people disagreed with what we said, that this could be a lower scoring game, then I definitely think, Gabe Davis, if John Brown's out, Gabe Davis is definitely in play, I think. And I think Cole Beasley's definitely in play as well. I know he had a bad game last week against Pittsburgh, but I think they're both wide receiver 3s, wide receiver 4s.
He's a top
especially
20
if you think
this year. It's disgusting.
I think you can put Cole Beasley up a bit, man. I think you can probably put Cole Beasley as like your low mid-end wide receiver 2 probably this week.
He's a top 24 wide receiver on the season. I just think he's super up and down. Under 10 points last week. I know it was a tough matchup versus Mike Hilton and the Steelers. 28 points the week before, a wide receiver 1 finish. Under 10 points, and then 28 points exactly the week before that, wide receiver 1 finish. He was also, guys, a wide receiver 1 in their game last year against Denver. Pre-step.
Doesn't that mean he's
I'm thinking you're probably going to see him like 15 to 17 range.
Yeah, I'd be happy starting that.
That's pretty money.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty money.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind Beasley as a flex.
I'd be playing him over Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah,
I think I'd probably play
Gabe
Tim
Davis
Patrick
is hot too.
Yeah.
No
all right. Well, let's see what we got. Trav talking about. He's talking about starting Gabe over CD. What do you guys think about that right there? CD Lamb or Gabriel Davis?
And that's bold.
That is kind of hot. That is kind of hot, but I really kind of don't mind
it. I get it. Yeah.
Being honest. I mean, Andy Dalton, he's been, serviceable, but he is what he is, and that's a backup quarterback at this point. And he's not really pushing the numbers that we were hoping, that I was drooling over all offseason, about this Dallas offense, and we're not really seeing that. I don't feel great about plugging CD Lamb into my lineup, but Gabe, I don't know. I feel like CD feels a little bit safer. And I feel like Gabe really kind of has a little bit more upside. But you can't tell me that CD Lamb doesn't have upside. But I mean, let me pass the microphone over to some of you guys. What do you think, Gabe or CD?
What do you think, Stoner?
That's tough. I really do like Davis, but I don't know that I'm starting him over CD. I don't like that CD only had like 2 catches last week for like 45 yards or something, but he's had 9, 15, 17 catches the last 4 weeks. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel more comfortable with him, especially with the notion that Elliott is hurt and Pollard might be the starting running back. Davis is probably the 3rd option on that offense. And, I mean, I guess CeeDee Lamb is probably the 2nd at best. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm flipping a coin and probably starting CeeDee Lamb only because I like CeeDee Lamb.
Consensus has CD at 38 and Gabriel Davis at 46 currently. So, it is a little bit spicy, but Trav, if you're feeling that buffer flow, then you could go that way.
I think you hit the nail on the head with it, DBrown. Like, it's a ceiling play for Gabe Davis. And it really feels like Gabe Davis can, like, blow up on any play action drop.
I like Gabe Davis. Don't get
he's great.
I just like him. But CD is also a dude that can blow up on any play, right? Like, he also has the potential to take one of those 10-yard catches into a 60-yard touchdown. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And he could be the red zone niche guy. We're
I
still
would
waiting for
prefer
that,
not
like
play
him
either
to
one
really
of them.
carve out that role.
But if I need
Exactly, and I
if
think
I need a
that's the point, right,
tiebreaker,
Stoner? Like,
if I need a tiebreaker here, it's Josh Allen over Andy Dalton.
yeah, like what offense
Great
do you
point,
think can
Dave.
support multiple wide receivers? Because
Right.
Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs are comparable in their own offenses. But, Gabe Davis it's hard to go away from him right now because he is so hot. 3 straight games with a touchdown, scored in 4 of the last 5, 65 yards receiving or more in, 3 of those 5 games. He's just not getting volume.
I think the beauty of the 3 touchdowns in a row says that Josh Allen trusts that dude when it comes time to score a touchdown.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
he's
Yeah.
one more big game
And
away.
teams still
from-
can't figure out.
He's one more big game away from really inflating his dynasty price. There's still opportunity right now to go get Gabriel Davis.
please don't
but-
be an idiot. Go trade for Gabriel
But
Davis.
John Brown,
Him-
we may not see John Brown take another snap in Buffalo at this
Nope.
rate.
Him and Diggs.
Clearly
Him and
submitting
Diggs are the
Cole
top 2
Beasley is
guys.
old. Cole Beasley's getting old. He's 31, I think, something like that. Gabe Davis is the future in Buffalo. So long as Josh Allen is there, I love buying young wide receivers tied to top 5 quarterbacks. And right now, this year, how Josh Allen is playing, he's a top 5 quarterback in Dynasty. And Gabe Davis is slotting in as the number 2 option without a tight end that can really be relied upon. Dawson Knox isn't the answer. There's no real run game that's been established. Buffalo is leading on Josh Allen, and between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, that's the future in Buffalo. Go get him now before it's too late.
Honestly,
Love
for
that.
sure. For sure. If you feel uncomfortable, look at Gabe Davis's college stats, and you'll feel less uncomfortable. That dude was a baller then, and he will be a baller next year. I can see him easily being a 1,000-yard receiver by his 3rd year.
It's Jimmy's boy right there.
Yeah, man, that dude was finding the end zone at UCF. I noticed him. Actually, I was watching a game looking at Cortland Sutton. That's what piqued my interest. He played a game against SMU and beat, I think it was 2 or 3 defenders. I think he beat 2 defenders and then outran a third. And I was sold. Then I started watching him. I like him. And like 2
Guys,
other
what are we
players that he was
doing?
playing with in college ended up getting drafted, right? So like to put up the numbers he did at UCF of all places, I think it was Jordan Akins and Traquan Smith, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Traquan.
They're a squad. But I think
That was a
Davis
good
is-
team.
As a prospect, Davis I thought was better than both of them.
yeah, absolutely was.
As a 6th-round draft pick, oh my God, he's going to be a steal. By the 3rd year, people are going to be like, holy shit, how was this guy a 6th-round draft pick? It's disgusting.
For real.
How did the Steelers miss on him? So, guys, Noah Fant, what are we doing with him? Buffalo is one of the best matchups for tight ends in fantasy, but this guy hasn't had 60 yards receiving since week 1. 10 straight games without a touchdown for Noah Fant. Can we start him, or are we forgetting about him regardless of a great matchup?
Yeah, I mean, other than a DFS play, maybe, come on. If it wasn't for the injury last week, I'd feel better about this is a great matchup, like you said, but we saw Nick Vannett come in and kind of be that serviceable option in his absence. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Vannett kind of stays involved this week. Perhaps they even kind of have Fant on somewhat of a snap count this week. So I don't feel great about plugging him in. He's probably just outside my top 15, top 16 tight ends this week.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it at all, man.
Would you play Logan Thomas?
Yeah, no, I like Logan Thomas over Fant this week.
What about Logan Thomas against the Seahawks? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's tough. Noah Fant, tough sledding right now for sure.
He hasn't
But
had double
huge-
digit points since
He has
like
the
week
upside.
7 or 8, right? Like he's been soft, man. He keeps getting hurt all the time, and I think I mentioned earlier that the position is weak.
Yeah.
There are just other guys. I'd play Dawson Knox, I think, over Noah Fant this week, and that just made me throw up in my mouth.
Now, I will say
Wow.
this: if I'm in a matchup where I just saw Waller put up 30 points against my squad, and I'm looking for some true upside, I do think that Noah Fant is a potential play there. If I'm really looking for some true upside, because like Ty said, the matchup's there. I think the game script is going to be there. We all expect Buffalo to kind of crush. I mean, Drew Lock could throw the ball 45 times, and Fant, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism to bust one at any given time. So if I'm really looking for some upside coming from a deficit, we know his floor is there towards the bottom, but I don't mind Fant as a, get back in this gameplay.
I got a lot of Noah Fant PTSD from seeing him limp off the field so much.
Me too, man.
I'm just like,
And
what?
some best
I'd
ball
rather play Cole
frustrations.
Kmet. I'd rather just throw my dude from Notre Dame, Cole
Jimmy
Kmet,
Graham
out
pushing.
there.
Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eric
that
Ebron,
dude-
I'd play
look
And
at
it's
him.
funny,
him.
Dawson
Like,
Knox.
Last 4 games, Cole Kmet's
And for
snap rate is
Dynasty-
well over 70%. Last week was 86. He's gotten 14 targets the last 2 weeks. And that dude, if Jimmy Graham is out, I tweeted earlier, he's 7 for 7.
He gets the end zone looks if Jimmy Graham's
Yeah,
out.
it's easy. I'd rather play Cole Kmet than Noah Fant, honestly. Even ceiling and floor,
Yeah.
I'm playing Cole Kmet over Noah Fant.
If you're looking for the sneaky,
And we
tight
all
end
love
play,
Dawson
I'd
Knox
be looking
from
at Taysom Hill.
Dynasty.
Fuck off, Jim.
That's only if he gets his tight end
Does he have
eligibility.
tight
He
end
gets
eligibility?
designation, man.
I don't think he has tight end eligibility anywhere.
Certain leagues give it to him. I
And
heard.
Yeah, if you're still playing
For
on
Dynasty
ESPN.
tight end premium,
I heard
Dawson
it.
Knox is
So
actually
many
like a
Taysom
name
Hill
to know.
people triggered right now.
All right, guys, let's move on to the next one.
Let's do it.
I'm
We're
up.
behind.
All right, so we are
Oh.
finally 1 hour into the Sunday games.
We're
Kansas City at New Orleans, great game. Drew Brees is going to start. Over under is 52.5. That's what we were talking about off the top with Brees coming
Start
in.
Travis Kelce,
Vegas
start
knowing
Pat
something we
Mahomes.
didn't. Yeah, nobody's worried about Pat Mahomes in the dome. And yeah, Michael Thomas is out. Obviously, we're watching the Saints defense. The Saints defense is going to kind of dictate this. They're a top 5 DVOA. We know Chiefs offense is just dynamite. So I think it's going to be interesting how this game plays out. And I think from the Saints' point of view, we're not starting Breeze, but is Latavius Murray just dead to us as well?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I heard he was maybe even questionable coming into this game. So, he's definitely out for me. I'm all aboard the Kamara train, though. I think he's the
AK
MVP
is
of that
full
game.
right now, dude. I am firing AK on all cylinders, and probably nobody else.
He's a top
on
5.
the Saints offense.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
So what about Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Is he a running back too, or is he performing so poorly that we cannot call Clyde Edwards-Helaire running back too? Very tough matchup.
I'd play him over Melvin Gordon.
He's right. He's right in that Melvin Gordon range for me, right around Gallman, like we talked about. Right around that 19
That's
to
the one
22 range.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like
what
if
about
you
Kareem
have
Hunt?
I feel like hold on. No, Kareem Hunt's an RB2 easy.
I'll take Hunt over the above mentioned.
If you have the ability to play Helaire in your flex, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I like it as a flex option.
He's
You're
been
in
a top
great
24 running back 75% of the time this year.
So you're in great
I think
shape.
you can
I
throw him
think
out
the
there.
Clyde Edwards. Yeah, and we just need to hope that he either gets in the end zone, which will never happen, obviously. But we have to
And
hope he
that's
gets some
why
work
I
in the
think
passing
you're
game
in
because we
great
know
shape
Saints are
if
tough
he's
against
in
the
your
run.
flex and not your RB2. Like if he's in your flex, you're cool whether he scores or not. If he's your RB2, you need him to be in the end zone.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel personally.
And so when you look up when you look at the Saints, like versus anything, it's very tough matchups for fantasy football, except the wide receiver position. They actually give up a lot of fantasy points in the red zone to wide receivers as well. So, Tyreek Hill, we know he's the best bet in football, probably twice as good of a bet as anybody to score a long touchdown. And it's just crazy. So check this out. Tyreek Hill has 7 offensive touchdowns of 30-plus yards this year. Second season with 7 of those touchdowns. The only other player since the NFL merger to do that twice in a career, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, and Terrell Owens. Like, my 3 favorite
company.
So, I know. Isn't that just crazy? That's a mic drop
All
moment.
3
Right
of
there.
them
Like, it's
played
just
for the
crazy.
Niners, by the way.
Yeah, boom, boom. That's too funny.
That's good.
Yeah, Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice will always be in red when I'm looking at them in my dreams. So are we out on all other Kansas City
Terrell
wide
Owens
receivers?
follows me on Twitter.
No way.
What?
Yeah.
Tell him I said
That's
what's
sweet.
I've met Terrell.
up. Tell him my name's like Tyrell.
Tyrell.
Terrell.
Spelled with a Y.
Everyone calls me Terrell.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, which is
actually
incredible
pretty,
how people still call me Terrell all the time.
he's pretty
Tyrell
fantastic. And I
McLowan.
think it's dope that he follows me on Twitter. So that's all.
That's awesome, man.
That's dope.
And he is the second best wide
So are
receiver of all time. Randy Moss, you were right,
Agreed.
but you fucked up when you said that Jerry Rice was not number 1. You dumb bastard.
I would never not. Jerry Rice is the number 1 wide receiver of all time.
Randy Moss literally came
Not even
out and
close.
said that he was number 1, T.O. was number 2, and Rice was maybe 3 or 4.
Dummy.
Oh,
Wowza.
wow.
Wowza.
That's funny.
I
Glad I don't
literally
follow him
want
on
to fight
Twitter.
Randy Moss right now.
So any other wide receivers in this game
hate his
other than
southern
Tyreek
accent.
Hill that we feel good about?
I don't want
No.
any of them. It's
So
a dart throw,
nobody
man.
from the Saints.
Travis Kelce's the
No
wide
other
receiver.
wide receivers. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes, Alvin Kamara are all smash plays. And that gives us CEH for a flex. And other than that, we're kind of really staying away from this game.
And it's crazy to think
Yeah.
that there might be 50-plus points scored in this game.
But
And we're only comfortable playing a handful of dudes.
this is one of those games, too, that I wouldn't be surprised if there was only
Condensed
30,
offenses.
35 points scored,
Me too.
And
This is just
And
one of those
you
games
know what?
that could go either way.
I could see Cole running a pump back, or they're getting a defensive touchdown.
Defensive touchdown. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So
I
let
think-
me ask then.
The Chiefs are going to put points up in the
Hold
dome.
on. Personal question for me. In one of my home leagues, I have the Chiefs defense. Do I play them? And they've crushed it for me. They've done a great job for me all year.
You'd have to give me another option.
Do I play the Chiefs or maybe the Cleveland Browns against the New York Giants, who've given up 12 points a game to defenses the last 3 weeks, and Colt McCoy is still their quarterback, and the Browns have a ridiculous pass rush rate.
I'll take the Browns over
Denzel
Kansas
Ward.
City.
Denzel
Just-
Ward coming back.
Like I said, the sway of that game flow, it could go either way, and I'm going to respect the upside on that, and I'm going to switch to the Browns. The New York Giants, I don't care who's starting under center. I think the Browns have been disruptive.
I'd
on
rather
defense,
Daniel Jones.
and I have them as a top 5 DST this week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because those are my 2 options, and I
Jones,
can't figure out
turnover
which one to
machine.
play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I picked up Cleveland's defense this week as well in a home league of mine where I've been streaming defenses for the past 8 weeks.
You guys
And I
know
love
who
them
they
this
get in fantasy championship week, right?
the Browns?
The Jets.
Uh,
The Jets get the Browns
I'm playing
in fantasy
against Derrick
championship week.
Henry and Devontae Adams.
Like that.
I'm in trouble.
Safety.
I'm playing against Henry, Jonathan
Then you-
Taylor, and Devontae Adams.
oh, man.
Then
Oh,
you
that
know
means
what,
you should
Stoner?
roll with the
Call me
Chiefs
crazy.
D, man.
I might
They're gonna
chase-
put Breeze.
Yeah,
And I started
for a special
Keenan
teams
Allen.
touchdown for the upside. Byron
Yeah.
Frankel, Mecole Hardman, either of them can run like that.
Absolutely.
I might chase that.
And maybe like the spirit of 58. They're gonna get them, man.
So, guys, I'm going to go to the next game.
Oh, we've got more.
So I'm going to go right to the next game here.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Just about 10 of them. Houston at the Indianapolis Colts. Rematch of a game just a couple weeks ago, but a lot has changed. You know, Colts backfield most of all in the last couple weeks. Brass tacks, Houston is a brutal defense. Indy is a well-rounded, very stout defense. Colts offense is running on all cylinders right now. Meanwhile, Houston's offense is wildly predictable. Like, they're one of the best passing offenses, no matter who Deshaun Watson's set of weapons are, but unequivocally one of the worst rushing defenses. So sets up really nice for the Colts to control the pace of the game, for the Texans to chase and go for chunk plays through the air. So the point total is 51 in this game. Just as it was when these teams actually played in Week 13, the matchup stayed under in the point total a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago or whatever. Do you guys think these teams can support a shootout, or do you see it as like a slower pace game with Houston kind of struggling?
And
Yeah,
I think we do. I think we do see a shootout. You know, so the Indianapolis Colts defense isn't what it was for the first 6 weeks of the year, and you know, they're looking a little sluggish in recent weeks. And Deshaun Watson is just a playmaker, like you said. No matter who he's got catching the ball, he's getting it to them. And you know, I think he has a monster game in this one, like he does every week, because they have to. If Deshaun doesn't go off, that team they're done. So I think you could roll him out there with confidence, and I think we do hit the over actually on this. I know I bet the over last time, and I lost that parlay, but I'm going for it again.
Back to the well, and I like it. So then we're probably interested in some Houston guys, not Duke Johnson. He's questionable for this game, by the way. So why don't we start with the other D Johnson really quick? David Johnson was the running back 26 in PPR against the Colts a few weeks back. Is that about where we would have him ranked this week? What do you think, Stoner? Is David Johnson just a flex play, or can he get into that running back 2 conversation?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, if I have to play him, I'll play him, but I'm not comfortable playing him. I don't know. I haven't felt comfortable with David Johnson since he scored 16 touchdowns a few years ago.
Ditto. Yeah. So what about him or
Watson.
Melvin Gordon?
Melgo.
Yeah.
I'd go Melgo too. Wayne Gallman.
What about
I don't hate
DJ or
myself enough
JD?
for it.
DJ or
Who?
JD McKissick?
Man, PPR. I'll go JD still. Smoochums.
Yeah, I'll take the chance on McKissick. If Gibson's out, for sure. That's easy, JD, for sure.
Okay, so agreed. So the other backfield in this game, the star of the show here, guys, just a cake matchup for running backs playing Houston fantasy football. We know that. We
I
talked just a few
literally
weeks ago about how
mentioned
well
this.
Jonathan
I'm gonna
Taylor's
cut you
skill
off.
set.
You don't have to talk about it. Jonathan Taylor's going to eat. I feel really bad for the Houston Texans.
So we think he's going to be.
He's top 12.
We know he's going to eat, but do we think he's going to be unleashed? Is he going to be like the lead back in this one?
With 120 yards and a touchdown, you're unleashed, bro. Like, I would be disappointed if he didn't hit those numbers.
Yeah, and that mixed in with the receiving work that we're kind of seeing out of him lately too is enough for me to, you know, tap into that upside. I like him this week. He's the 4th price heaviest running back on DraftKings at 7,200. But going up against Houston, I think this is a game where, you know, Indy will be content to just pound the rock, and they've got the guys to do so. So, you know, JT should see 20-plus touches this week, and against this porous Houston run defense, he should eat pretty properly.
Agreed.
Yeah, he's running back 5 against them in Week 13. Do we think the Colts can produce
He's
multiple
going
top
to eat
24
so
running backs
properly
against
that
Houston?
he might wear a bib. Like, that dude is going to crush. It's going to be disgusting. And I hate it because I'm playing against him.
So is Nyheim Hines in play?
If you think Phillip Rivers is in play, then Naheem Hines as an extension has to be, because like Noodle Arm isn't getting it deep. Come on, man! Like it's slants to Pittman and
Well, he was.
Noodle Arm to Scott.
I like Rivers this week.
That means you kind of like Hines, right?
I like Rivers. I like the run game. I don't really like many of the receiving options. I like T.Y. Hilton. His efficiency in the red zone is what really draws me towards him. But, you know, all in all, I don't mind Rivers. He's shown us a pretty safe floor over the course of the season.
20 points the last couple games,
one week so far in the past, 8 that he's really, hurt you below 16 points. So he's got a safe floor, and he's got upside. He's got some weapons around him, and with Deshaun Watson on the other side of the ball, there is a chance for that shootout. Pittman, T.Y. Hilton. I like T.Y. I like Phillip Rivers, and Hines as kind of a deeper flex option with JT being in the smash spot.
Can I ask you about this? I know it's going off the rails though, but let's go for the Freedom 55 triumvirate here. Who'd you start? Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, or who's the other old guy? Oh, Drew Brees.
Give me Big Ben against the Bengals.
Yeah, no, I'll go Ben, but with his receiving
And
options
Phillip
and the lack of the run game right now in Pittsburgh.
Lack of running, yeah.
So
Perfect.
I'll go Big Ben, but they're all right there hovering in the same area, and it looks like on consensus.
I think too. I don't think we can have it both ways. Like if we think like Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor, both top 24 running backs against Houston a few weeks ago. I think they're both top 24 running backs this week. Rivers was ultra good. He was 27 for 35, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. Ultra efficient. He was tied for quarterback 16 in fantasy. So while I'm very impressed by what he's done, and he's definitely proved me wrong, I just still will stick to my guns about Rivers. Like he's just not that guy I'm ever chasing at quarterback. So it's just I'll never start him, especially not in semis. Like I'd even chase the matchup with a Jared Goff or a Big Ben, like we talked about.
What about Drew Lock?
No, never.
I would play Rivers over Drew Lock
too.
immediately.
Me too. What about Daniel Jones, Cy?
He's dead.
No, you got to sit Daniel Jones, and especially because of the injury. Like we saw last week, he's just not even going to be mobile, and that's the only thing he has going for him. He has like 5 games where he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass this year. He threw a touchdown pass in every start last year. Fuck Daniel Jones.
Yeah. He had multiple.
You know who
QB
I love
one
is Deshaun
leagues.
Watson, right?
Yeah, I talked about him.
Yeah,
I love him this week. He puts the team on his back. It seems like every single week, and that just leads to fantasy points.
You call guys up from the practice squad.
It's just scary to bank on a dude like that, because when he's putting the team on his back, like I fear that he doesn't have anybody else playing with him, especially when Fuller's.
It's hard for him to
He's
put
the
that,
best
like,
athlete on the
30-point
field,
game
though. You know,
I like.
Yeah,
the
but
fact
I'm
that
just
Cook
saying
is
for
back,
fantasy,
you
I
know?
can't say that Rivers doesn't have a ceiling and not acknowledge that Deshaun Watson's ceiling has been affected. Like I still think Watson's a great quarterback. He's still going to be good. He's the best player on the field at all times. But I'm starting Tom Brady over him in a league against Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think that's fair,
And it
though.
hurts.
Yeah,
You know?
Atlanta's just like giving
Yeah,
you.
because I know both of them will
early.
score.
I'll start Tom Brady over Russell
Because I
Wilson.
don't worry about any.
Is this the part of the show
That's
where I have to
spicy.
jump in and say fuck Tom Brady? He's a system quarterback.
No. Yeah, no,
Not
I'll
Joe Montana. He's not the GOAT.
That's
He's
Mohamed
a
Sanu.
system quarterback. It's clear that Bill Belichick is the reason for all of his success. He may be the quarterback with the best career of all time, but it doesn't necessarily make him the best quarterback of all time, because fuck Tom Brady. And my rant is over.
Love it.
So, what about Brandon Cooks, one of Tom Brady's former weapons? Is he a top 30 option at wide receiver
Fuck
this
Tom
week?
Brady.
I think he is. You know, I can't come out
Would
here.
you play
and tell-
Cooks or Tom Brady's third weapon, Antonio Brown, Jules?
I'll go Cooks, but it's close. I think I got them like 26 and 28 this week.
What about DJ Chark, who gets a tough matchup against Baltimore, or Brandon Cooks?
Oh man, you know,
Because Brandon Cooks has Xavier Rhodes this week, who's been good.
yeah,
Open roads.
yeah. Rhodes is
Frank Gore,
he had his
Gore
time, man.
quarterbacks.
But, yeah, no kidding. But he had his time, and honestly, I think he's a bit washed. So I'm not too worried about that matchup with Brandon Cooks. And I love DJ Chark with Gardner Minshew this week, but I don't love DJ Chark going against either Marcus Peters or Humphreys. So, I'd probably go and lean Brandon Cooks in that matchup as well.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back
It's a
to
good one,
what you mentioned Hold on, I think that goes back to whoever mentioned earlier picking Josh Allen over Drew Lock. I think you're picking Deshaun Watson over Phillip Rivers or whatever at this point,
or Gardner
or
Minshew.
whatever your quarter,
Yeah.
or
Totally,
over
yeah.
Gardner Minshew. You're picking Deshaun Watson over
Yeah,
Gardner.
Minshew. Yeah.
For sure.
The only thing I'll mention is that he did kind of have a letdown game. We kind of thought Cooks was in a smash spot against Houston in that first matchup just a few weeks ago. He kind of had a letdown game. That was in part because of Kiki Kuti, boys. Like, I said this guy had no ceiling, Kiki Kuti, blah, 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 don't start him. He had a 64-yard catch on the first fucking drive and finished with 8 catches, 141 yards, and he scored last week. So did he accidentally run over Bill O'Brien's dog? Or, are we starting Kiki Kuti over Brendan Cooks by chance? Anybody?
No, I'm not going that far. I mean, Cooks. I don't feel great about him coming off, this injury and whatnot. But if there's one weapon that Deshaun Watson, I feel confident with him utilizing, it's Brandon Cooks this week. So he's my top option on the Texans offense this week.
No love for Chad Hansen either, eh? Buddy had a 100-yard receiving game in the first matchup against the Texans.
Yeah,
or Steven Mitchell.
Like I said,
snaps last week.
They're bringing these guys up off the practice squad. I think he got pushed back down. Did Hansen get called back up again, or is he back in?
I think he.
I thought he was, but I could be wrong.
I've got to pull it up.
I think it was after
Who's
last
the guy
week.
that they haven't been playing?
He
The
got
Rhode Island
reverted
guy.
back to the practice squad, which kind of had me scratching my head because he'd been semi-productive in their lack of other choices at wide receiver depth.
Bro, Chad Hansen has been that dude for the last couple weeks, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like a guy that Deshaun has been trusting, and I think he's got 12 catches and 150-plus yards in the last few weeks. I don't know. Maybe him and Cooks are those dudes that Deshaun can go out there and play with.
Well, Aikens just letting me down.
No kidding. I expected Aikens to get a lot more play when
And
Fuller
Deshaun
went out.
Watson.
No, I really liked him this year. The moment that Hopkins kind of got shipped out on that deal, Aikens, Fells was there and he was very productive in the red zone last year for the Texans. I was really hoping Aikens, the more athletic, younger prospect of the two tight ends, would take a step forward with this opportunity. And he just really hasn't the way I hoped. And, I keep going back to him at the bottom of the barrel DFS well. And he keeps letting me down. He's burned me, and I'll probably never put him in my lineup ever again.
Also, guys, I just found
You know what,
there-
DBrown? He's like a lame version of Noah Fant.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
So frustrating.
Exactly.
It's Texans plan on signing wide
So,
receiver
are we
Chad
starting?
Henson 11 hours ago.
Can we
Okay.
move on to a game that actually matters? I mean,
Yeah, let's
honestly.
do it.
You know what
Yeah,
game
let's get the
Okay,
rolls.
so
JT,
you guys don't
this
think
game
T.Y.
might help.
Hilton? You guys don't think T.Y. Hilton matters this week?
No, I
Well,
do.
there's-
And I
I
do.
like
I think
JT
it does.
T.Y. Hilton are must plays for me, I think.
Ty is the only really receiving option that
Yeah,
I
he
feel
has to
great
be
about
played this week.
for the Colt.
Mhm.
I will say though, that touchdown he scored last
The
week, he
Houston
was
secondary
wide
is
open.
brutal.
So
Yeah,
take that for what you will.
Pittman's a
Yeah,
dart.
But
I like
he's
Pittman
played
as
well
a
the
dart.
last
But he
few
scored
weeks.
4
Yeah,
touchdowns
yeah.
in his last 3 games.
And he's looked good doing it, man.
And
He's
in the
looked
last
like
3
the
games,
TY
he's
Holt.
also had yards. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, exactly.
Rivers is looking to
And he was
Ty.
wide receiver 6 overall 3 weeks ago against Houston. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, I'll throw him
we're
out
officially, like, Michael Pittman's a guy that we're not starting, right?
Not a
Probably
chance.
not.
not just a dart.
If I had to start Brandon Cooks, I would. Obviously, Watson's the guy you play if you have to. But, yeah, I prefer to stay away from the Houston backfield. JT, I'll crush all day. He's an RB1 for me this week. But, yeah, this game is trash. Maybe the Colts D. I don't know.
I'll take Cooks
All right.
over Pittman and Pittman over Chark.
I would
Yeah,
have
so you're low on Chark for sure.
Pittman,
Yeah.
But, ooh, I like it.
Boom, boom.
So let's go to a more exciting game, but actually a lower total game here. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Atlanta Falcons. Tom Brady at your Atlanta Falcons there, DBrowner. So 48.5 point over under. I can't believe that. It's so weird. And honestly, I get it. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, they kind of shit the bed coming off their bye week against Minnesota. I was just a little bit let down about their offense, but these are probably two top 10 passing offenses. Both of their run games are pretty stingy too. There's zero incentive for either team to try and run the ball, I think. So do we think this is going to go in shootout mode, or does Vegas know something we don't with the total being under 50?
I mean, I do kind of see this going more towards shootout mode. Like you said, lack of run game on both sides, Rojo out of the equation, which was really their only hope in Tampa to really get some, strong run game going, I feel. Gurley has looked terrible these last, few weeks that he's been in. I don't feel good about plugging him in. If I have other options, I'm avoiding Gurley at all costs this week. But, like I said, I really like Tom Brady this week. As much as Stoner isn't a fan, I do like Tom Brady this week, and I'll echo this one more time. I have Tom Brady over Russell Wilson this week. So against my birds, I think Tom Brady's going to light him up. I don't really care for Matt Ryan much this week. I love Calvin Ridley. I'll start Calvin Ridley, every day of the week. I don't care if he.
For those of you
I don't
know,
care if Calvin Ridley's on IR. He is in my wide receiver 1 slot. You know what I mean?
DBrown is the conductor of the Calvin Ridley hype train.
Yeah, dude. I've been dumping that tomato sauce
for years.
All over.
Yeah.
But
So
I
think both quarterbacks. You don't like Matt Ryan. I don't.
Go ahead, Ty.
What's that, DBrown?
I said, yeah, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, I think we're all on board, except obviously not Stoner, about Tom Brady. Atlanta gives up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And since week 11, Tampa Bay is actually giving up the most fantasy
play
points
him
to
in your
quarterbacks.
lineup, but he can go fuck himself. That's all.
Yeah, but fuck him. I kind of agree with that. So what about Matt Ryan, though? Like, DBrown's a little down on him. Are you starting Matt Ryan this week, Jimbo? Like, is this a bounce back spot for him?
Yeah, you know what? I am going to be starting Matt Ryan in 2 quarterback leagues for sure. I like Calvin Ridley. I know Julio's out, but I also like Russell Gage, man. And I don't know how to say his name, Zach Rock Me Amadeus.
He's on IR.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was. Yeah,
I thought he was coming off.
Yeah.
I believe his last name is Zachariah.
If he's been lifted, I haven't heard.
I love it.
He's been on IR, and I'm pretty sure this week would be the 3rd week since he's been put on, which would be a mandatory based on the short IR.
Oh, I thought this was the week he was coming back.
I don't think so, but I do love me some Russell Gage this week with Julio out again. I think Matt Ryan's passing volume is going to funnel through Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage this week. And with what we've seen from the Falcons willing to put the ball in Russell Gage's hand and even perhaps toss a 39-yard touchdown pass, I think the upside is clearly there for Russell Gage to have another phenomenal outing against this beat-up secondary of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Sanu, system quarterback. Been saying it for years.
It sounds like something an Atlanta Falcons fan would say. That's all.
Hey, I am what I am. You see it on the sleeve right here, baby.
Is Gage? What do you think, Stoner? Do you think Gage is a top 36 guy? Like, is he a wide receiver 3 for you?
I mean, if I have to play him, I'll play him. If I don't have to, I won't. Ridley's the guy. I don't even trust Hurst. I don't like Ryan. Ridley's the only dude I want to play on the Falcons offense. I mean, the Bucks, you're playing piece of shit Tom Brady. The open mouth kisses his kid.
Rank the wide receivers for me.
I got you.
Which one?
Mm-hmm. That is the one thing I can't get past for sure with Tom Brady. That's
Which
the
one? Because you interrupted me when I was telling
sure.
everyone that Tom Brady open mouth kisses his kids. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver.
That is the biggest blemish in his career. Yeah, I think that's the biggest blemish in his entire career.
It's Godwin over Evans over Brown, and I actually think that
Ding.
I think Antonio Brown has a good shot of scoring this week. I don't know why. It's just a hunch. I just think he's due to get in the end zone, and I got a feeling this is the week that it can easily happen.
Atlanta
Ty
gives
loves
up the
ranking
second
Tampa
most
Bay
fantasy points to wide
receivers.
receivers this year. And do you know what? Stoner's the first guy who's got it correct from my perspective. I've had it that way the entire time, but everyone else has had it different ways. If people want to have Mike Evans first, fine. But people keep coming on and ranking Antonio Brown first, and I think he's so clearly third.
Hey,
I also agree that it's a matter of time.
I don't know if
he's-
it's good or bad that I think like you and you think like me. I think it's good
Yeah, that
for
we're
me.
agreeing.
but-
Yeah.
I think it's good for me, but it might be bad for you.
Please. What's our feelings on Gronk? Like, is Gronk like literally getting up above guys like Dallas Goedert at this point? Like you said it earlier, Stoner, Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, those are the only guys that were like starting over someone like Robert Tonyan, but now we
I
get
think
into someone like
Gronk
Gronk. Where are you
is
there?
a TV dependent tight end at this point. And if I'm choosing between him and Goddard, I'd play Goddard.
I'll take.
And nobody's interested in Hurst, eh?
No. Hurst has been absolutely dog shit lately.
Mm-hmm.
But I
sad.
do like
think
Gronkowski. He's got a plus matchup against my Dirty Bird Falcons. So, you know, I like I said, I'm all in on the Tom Brady train this week. He's a top 5 QB, and Gronkowski could very well put up, you know, a 5 for 65 and 2 line against these Falcons.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he can do it.
I'm seeing tons of air yards.
Yo,
I just don't have the comfort. I just don't feel comfortable that he can.
FF Aviator just says he's playing
It is
Irv
hard
over
to get like those first 5 weeks.
FF
Dude,
Aviator.
Irv Smith for
He's
sure.
playing
You know,
Irv
Kyle
over
Rudolph
Hurst
out.
this week. And
Hell yeah.
is Kyle Rudolph
is out.
is Kyle
I heard
Rudolph
he's
out
out.
this week? Anybody know?
Kyle Rudolph
double
is out this
check.
week.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I like Irv.
Kyle Rudolph is out.
I like Irv as a tight end, you know, kind of flyer this week. If you find yourself in a bind, I do like Irv Smith this week. He came through last week.
I got a question for you, D.
Yeah,
This has nothing to do with the game we were just discussing. Irv Smith or Cole Kmet?
Irv.
Based on
yeah, I'll
circumstance,
take Irv. I'll take Irv. He's got a better matchup.
Kyle. It sounds
Rudolph
like
is
Kyle
out.
and Jimmy Graham
Rudolph's
are
out.
both out this week.
Yeah, so long as Rudolph's
I
out,
still go with Irv
I like
just because
Irv.
Irv produced so well on limited snaps.
Absolutely.
No, fuck that. I'm all Cole Kmet, bro.
You like that?
You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. I'm also
like
Notre
that?
Dame.
I agree with you, Stoner, that
that.
Cole Kmet's almost like the second priority in that passing.
He played 86% of the snaps last week, dude.
Yeah.
Like, Irv Smith played 35%.
and look up Irv Smith. He played like 30%.
Is Graham out?
I believe Jimmy Graham is
He's
quite
questionable.
See, I think he's going to suit up, and I think he's going to come in there and chicken hawk those fucking red zone targets.
If he goes 2 for 21 with a touchdown,
Yeah, he's
I
gonna
will
see the
literally
end zone
shank
targets.
Jimmy Graham.
I don't know if there's a tight end in the league that is seeing more red zone work than Jimmy Graham, and even on his limited snap basis, he's top
I
5
hate
in
that
red zone
albino
target week in and
motherfucker.
week out.
Mm-hmm.
I
He's
hate
seeing a
him.
monopoly that only someone like Adam Thielen's seeing in their offense in end zone targets.
I'll tell you. All right,
Did
let's
you
say
say Adam Shaheen? I'm just fucking around. Obviously, we weren't talking about that guy. Look, I'm all Cole Kmet. Forget Irv Smith. I'm team Cole Kmet this week.
Yeah, I'll put Cole over.
All right, so
two
let's go
for the play.
to the next.
This bad boy?
Sorry, go on, Ty. I think I'm a little.
So should I
I'm
get
a
into
little
the next
laggy.
game here?
Yeah, get into the next one. Sorry,
Yeah, what do we got?
All right, let's go Detroit Lions Maybe I'm the one who's lagging a bit here. Sorry, guys.
That's all good. All right, guys. Let's just do. We got Lions, Tennessee.
Yeah, let's move on. Jules, you want to take the...
Yeah, Tennessee's 8.5-point favorites. There's a couple of hotly debated players in this one. Matt Stafford is supposedly questionable for the game, might play, but I don't know, man. Like, who do you feel comfortable between the old injured quarterbacks, Breeze or Stafford?
I'm not trusting anyone on Detroit aside from maybe Hawkinson at tight end, especially if Stafford is not playing. Like, I can't.
We got Swift out there. You got any interest in Swift this week, or is AP vulture touchdowns too much for you to handle?
I'm just not feeling it, man. Like, I like the fact that he got in the end zone last week, but he's not getting the volume, and I still don't think he's well. I mean, if Stafford was playing, I would probably feel more comfortable with it. But I mean, Chase Daniels is just a different animal, and you're looking across the field at a guy named Derrick Henry, who is literally a man-child. And I have a weird and sad feeling because I'm playing against them this week, that they're going to do whatever they can to get Derrick Henry. I see the jersey behind you, so you're about to smile. They're going to do whatever they can to get him to 2,000 yards.
I hope so.
He needs, like, an average of $150 a game. And that's sad because I'm playing against him.
And Jonathan Taylor. Who's also
I also have DBrown on my team. And I'm like, dude, throw my dude the ball. Stop just handing it off to this monster.
And that touchdown last week, though, that one-hander in the end zone,
dude,
that got me excited. It's unreal.
So you said you're really only interested in starting Hawkinson. So you have no interest in then at all in Marvin Jones as your wide receiver 3 or flex?
Maybe as a wide receiver 3. Yeah, I mean, if I was in a deeper league, would I have bigger rosters for sure. But I mean, in a standard, 2-2-1 flex, whatever, like, yeah, it's questionable for me. Hawkinson's like the only dude that I definitely feel comfortable with. I would play Marvin Jones in a maybe wide receiver 3 or a deeper flex league.
Would you take, say, Marvin Jones over KJ Hamler or Tim Patrick?
I definitely would over Hamler. The Patrick one, man, I would flip flop back and forth on that until game day. Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to handle that one. I hate it already.
Flip a coin, man. Flip a damn coin.
Now I have something to think about when I'm not sleeping in the middle of the night.
Well, so Jim, I know a lot of people. I saw this debate a lot coming into last night's game. Ryan Tannehill or Justin Herbert. Does he slide into that top 8 quarterback for you this week, or are you looking outside of that?
For me, Ryan Tannehill, yeah, he's definitely in the top. Probably makes the top 8. Confidently, I would say top 10, just in case there's a couple guys I'm forgetting about there. Plain and simple, he's been better than what I thought he would be on the year. I thought it was the peak at the end of last year is what I thought. I thought he had a very good fantasy season. I thought that was his plateau or his peak, and he was going to plateau after that. It is a team that definitely relies heavily on Derrick Henry in the run offense, but that actually helps him.
100%.
It really opens up guys like Corey Davis and like the monster AJ Brown. So yeah, I would definitely say confidently top 10 if I went through it. Maybe cracks top 8. If he did one, it would probably be 8. Straight up though. But it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he got you to the dance right now, right? Like
100%.
He's the person that you practice dancing with to ask that pretty girl to prom. So end of that movie, end up dancing with him anyway, right? Or her, or fucking whatever. So yeah, I think you gotta confidently start him.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to go and find a guy you can pivot to that has higher upside either. So
Maybe Gardner.
I started Herbert over Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean that's but to me, Herbert's a top. I slot him in as a top 8 guy pretty much every week.
751, Tannehill was my starting quarterback.
Those were my SFBX quarterbacks, man, right there, Tannehill and Herbert.
God, how are you? You're still in, right?
Herbert shit the bed in week 13. I should have pivoted to Mullins.
Pivoted to Mullins. How do you call that, eh?
Fuck, exactly. How do you call that? Like pivot to Mullins in week 13.
Smokey's asking us Swift or Sanders. What do you guys think?
Me, I'm going DeAndre Swift.
I like the Swift matchup. I do like that matchup. Yeah. No, I'm going Swift. I kind of like that game as a little bit more of a shootout. Well, I guess it kind of also depends. Is Stafford? Do we have further confirmation on him?
Still questionable.
I don't think
it's
Stafford
probably not boding well for him.
And
even if he plays,
I don't think he has to play. That's the best part. I don't think Stafford in his best interest has to play, man. Yeah. I think in his best interest is to just fucking sit this shit out, go somewhere else. You broke your back for this organization. Go somewhere where they fucking love you. Sit out, man.
He literally broke his back.
That's exactly right.
Multiple loans.
On the suspect.
How about Stafford to the Colts?
You're the second person that said that, man, in like a week.
Yeah, I think I was the one that said that. I tweeted it out today.
I love that. I love it. DBrown, what were you gonna say?
Some more receiving options behind TY. I like Pittman. I like his upside, but they'd have to get back to the well. Maybe bring in some free agent wide receiver help for Stafford. My man likes to sling that rock. He needs more options.
No kidding. That's true.
Absolutely.
So,
like
for me, it's easily Miles Sanders over DeAndre.
Yeah, no, I'll take Sanders over Swift. Like I said, on the mindset that Stafford is going to not play, I think that kind of just kills anybody and everybody on the Lions for me. I do like Hawkinson this week. He's probably about the only Lions that I really feel confident in starting, regardless of who's behind center.
You guys got a high mentality.
That's exactly what I said.
It's hilarious. I think we're all in together on that one. So what about Corey Davis, guys? You flexing out these Titans wide receivers at all, or are you staying away?
I mean, I really don't feel great. I was kind of riding the Corey Davis train into last week, and it kind of didn't go as planned. Everybody was paying down for Corey Davis last week, and AJ Brown is the one that kind of came through. But, we saw him get a little banged up last week, and he's still kind of been carrying that Q around all week. Like I said, I do like this game, but AJ Brown, wide receiver 1 this year, if he's good to go, I'm playing him, and I'm praying that it's not a Keenan Allen type scenario. So I like AJ Brown, and I'm probably not going to play Corey Davis unless, I'm in kind of a bind.
Corey Davis is a wide receiver 3 type guy, but AJ Brown, like Dee said, is clearly your wide receiver 1 too at this point.
Would you be taking a guy like Corey Davis in your matchups, or a guy like, say, Deontay Johnson with maybe the drops being a little bit concerning and having to sit for a bit?
You're not going to get many people squared up against Deontay Johnson and get me to pull that way. I'm a big Deontay Johnson fan. I don't care about the drops. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger cares about the drops. Mike Tomlin seemed to make his point. He did his time, as they like to say, and now he's back. He kind of came back in, and as soon as he came back, they showed that offense funnels through Deontay Johnson. He is the future in Pittsburgh. And I'm starting him with confidence everywhere that I have him.
Okay.
I like to hear, man.
That feeds into what I said earlier about Juju going elsewhere next year. I mean, They got Deontay Johnson. They got Chase Claypool. They got guys that can make plays. They don't need Juju next year.
Yeah.
So, me
both
personally, I'd probably flip a coin this week on those two guys. Long term, I love Deontay over Corey Davis, but this week it might be a coin flip.
Juju to the Texans.
I do like their
San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles.
Talking about not being concerned with drops. I like that. Like that you put that out there because that's something I'm not concerned about either. Because if you're getting the drops and you're still ending up producing, it means you're ending up getting the volume and they believe in you. So yeah,
100%.
And
One
they
thing I
really
wanna
are
add-
borderline mental errors. Like these are bad
Exactly.
drops, first plays of the game, third downs that are crucial. It's really remarkable. So I think he just needs to clean up the headspace, man.
yeah.
And he
And
will.
that's
I'd
coachable,
easily play.
Yeah.
I'd actually play Juju as well. I think Chase Claypool is the only Steelers wide receiver I wouldn't play over Corey Davis, and even that would be probably a debate for me
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
the
well,
Bengals.
you know-
Because the Bengals.
Deontay
Yeah.
Johnson is still only 24 years old. You know, he's still not, he comes in and
Older than
commands
Juju.
Older than Juju.
Deontay comes in and commands this alpha target share though, and he's still kind of getting wet behind the ears a little bit. But obviously they've shown Pittsburgh. Like I said, you saw what happened in the 2 quarters that he sat. Pittsburgh struggled to move the ball,
And we don't even know if
as
like
soon as
Deontay and
Deontay
Claypool
came back in the game, Pittsburgh started moving up and down the field again. It's evident. I think Mike Tomlin knows it. The Pittsburgh Steelers know it. Big Ben wants Deontay Johnson out there and drops aside. He's going to feed that man that football.
And the key thing is both him and Claypool are super versatile. They can win multiple ways and all that. So like in Juju, I love Juju, but he's shown that he might be a better complementary wide receiver, a guy out of the slot almost, because his super success came after the catch, came with
great
AB.
number 2 for a guy like Keenan Allen.
I'd like him to go to Green Bay.
Green Bay.
I say that the Jets bring in Kenny Golladay and Juju.
Woo.
To run away.
Just having fun.
Who's their quarterback, though?
Obviously, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
More pressing questions. Who's their coach?
Who's their coach? Joe?
Yeah.
There's only one guy who
Hashtag
can't.
anybody case.
There's a few at Campy, I think, but yeah, because they seem to
So we're starting Jeff Swaim in this game,
Tell you
right?
what,
At
though,
tight end
if
for
I
the
was the
Titans.
Jets, hold on, I would back up the truck and try to get Dabo to be my coach.
Me too. Yeah.
you don't want that other Harbaugh?
I hate Dabo Sweeney. Don't get
Yeah.
it wrong.
There's
just
no
so many
cap.
jobs.
There's no
There's
coach
so many
cap.
jobs up for grabs, and the Jets has to be low on most of those guys' priority lists.
Chargers number 1. Chargers number 1.
Please, anybody get there besides
Eric the enemy. Eric the enemy.
Eric the enemy. Yes.
Yeah.
Stop trying to poach our fucking
He's
great
gone.
coaches. I know
Eric
he's
the
gone.
enemy.
I know he's gone.
Should have been gone last year.
I
Brian
know.
Dable. Somebody, I
Listen.
think. Brian Dable. Canadian boy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so
Anyway.
let's go to
Anyways.
Jacksonville at Baltimore, and under 50 point
Do
total.
we
This
have
one
to?
just 48. Yeah, I think Poopgate, man. We got to talk Poopgate at least, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, did Lamar poop or did he get an IV?
Oh, he totally pulled the Paul Pierce.
He definitely took a shit.
He might have got an IV while taking a shit, but yeah, shit definitely went down.
But I think this is a game like we saw Baltimore's offense come to life last week in a big way against the Browns. And again, Baltimore looking down the barrel. The Jaguars defense that is just completely devastated with injuries. The secondary, I couldn't even name who they're starting in their secondary. I swear to God, I couldn't name one guy that they're starting in the secondary with all the injuries.
I think it's Bob and Tony.
Jeff,
Maybe. That's it.
Kyle. Yeah.
It's like a Mario and a Luigi. I don't know.
So how do you think Baltimore attacks Jacksonville? Do we think they're just going to run the ball, or do we think they'll let Lamar cook?
No, I think they're gonna run the ball pretty heavy, right? Like the Ravens, they got I mean, even without Mark Ingram, they got two very capable backs there in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Like, I wish to God. I mean, it's a good problem to have. It's almost like the poor man's Cleveland Brown situation there, I would say. But I wish to God like J.K. Dobbins could just get like the full lion's share of a commanding workload throughout a season. I want to see that, especially in the offensive scheme where they run the most RPO options. I think that's a very good fit for him. Because that was the only year he struggled in college, is when he was with Dwayne Haskins, and they kind of slipped away from the RPO and went to more standard pocket passer. So that's something I'd like to see. But yeah, I think they're gonna fucking pound the goddamn ball.
And Lamar Jackson's a top 5 quarterback, but Jacksonville, they're a top 5 matchup for running backs in fantasy football, along with quarterbacks as well. So is JK? Do you think JK is like a locked in RB2, like a high end or low end in this matchup?
High end RB2, I'd say low end RB1.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, the only concern I have, and I'm sure you're gonna bring it up, is Gus Edwards, right? Like, but I also think that they run enough where they can both be fantasy viable. I think like you can get J.K. Dobbins in your RB1 range and Gus Edwards in your RB2 range for sure. Like last week, what did he end up attempting? I know he stopped for the ship, but like, what do you have, 17 pass attempts, something like that? Like, it was ridiculous, man. Like,
and he didn't look good. He's sailing balls all year.
No, man. Yeah, he looked like that Pro Bowl video that was circulating around.
That's mean. That's mean. So I did want to bring up Gus Edwards just because I do like to talk about these running backs who could be back end running back 2s over some of the guys that are ranked there. So what do you think about Leonard Fournette or Gus Edwards?
Gus.
Yeah. What about Todd Gurley? Anyone but DBrown.
Oh, I'd still be going Gus just because I'm not trusting the knees in my fantasy man. Like, this is my thing. Like, I'm in the fantasy semifinals. I don't really want to hinge my bus on the knees of Gurley there to try to get the championship. So I'm going to pivot and just swing for the touchdown upside because I do think they're going to be rushing a lot.
Slipping bus in there talking about Gus Edwards. I like
That's
it.
right.
So wide receivers also a top 5 matchup in fantasy, when facing Jacksonville. So Marquise Hollywood-Brown, Miles Boykin, both on the COVID list. Do we know if they tested positive or if they're going to play or what?
Well, I'm a little upset you used the term Hollywood there.
Yes, it's San Bernardino Brown. But as far as I know, they're both on the COVID exempt list, and they won't be in the game. I don't think that there's any really wide receivers I'm looking forward to playing for the Ravens.
So is it going to be Duvernay and James Broche? Devin Duvernay and James Broche are like their, and then Willie Snead will be like their lead dog.
Snead's probably likely to get the most volume, but Brown does have a possibility to play. So the FF Aviator is letting us know. So keep posted on that. But
you got to follow those ones if they don't test positive. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, even if he does play, I'm not feeling super stoked about it. If you played him last week, you were sweating it all game long, and then as soon as the poop gate finished up, all of a sudden, he found pay dirt. So I don't feel great about Marquise Hollywood-Brown, regardless of whether he plays or not this week.
And the skill sets don't even align with how the Jags have been so bad. Like the Jaguars have actually allowed the second most yards after the catch this year. So I think it sets up well for other guys obviously the run game will probably just take precedent. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'll take MVS over Hollywood this week.
And Mark Andrews, top 5 tight end this week. Him or Hawkinson, those are the guys you're arguing behind the elite guys for sure.
Yep, great matchup.
That seems too easy. But I agree that Dobbins could potentially be an RB1 this week. I don't know. Jacksonville's just not good. But the big question is on the other side of the ball, what do you guys think about J-Rob?
I think he's doing too good for Jacksonville. Like, I think doing too good for their pick. You know, like
I could go conspiracy theory, guys. Like, anybody have concerns that, like, we saw Divino Zigbo get in the game last week. Like, what, he had 12 carries maybe, or no, that J-Rob just had 12 carries last week, I think. But Divino Zigbo got in and had like 3 or 4 catches. Anybody worry that they might start to scale back Robinson's workload to finish the year just to risk, you know, you don't want to get this guy injured.
even if they do scale it back, he's at like a ridiculous 90. He's in like the 90%, like 90% or something like that of like his workload. Like, so even go
But
ahead.
not
and
last week.
Yeah, go ahead, scale it back to like a typical RB1 workload, and like you're still laughing. Like, that guy's fucking, he's a beast. He's a steal.
I'm
They should give
playing
him
him
a
this week
fucking
over
race.
Yeah, no, I still like
James Robinson
top
over
10 this week.
Carson this week.
Over who?
I'm playing him over Chris Carson.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I like that.
Definitely. Definitely.
I'm
too.
scared shitless about it, but I'm doing it.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
think you should be scared shitless. I think James Robinson in that Pittsburgh Steelers game proved that he's defensive matchup proof, right? Like, he fucking produced for you there. Like, I wouldn't
Totally.
be worried about him in week 15.
Yeah,
Not
I
a
got
ton of
Rob-
touches in that game either, yeah.
Robinson just ahead of Akers.
I mean, the key is making sure that they don't get behind too much too quick, and then they can still use him as part of their offensive plan. That's the shitty part, is that. But I like having Gardner back. I think it's fun. I think
I needed that shit.
It is fun. And I think DJ Chark's going to be the happiest guy. He was not jiving with Mike Glennon. 16 targets over the past 2 weeks, just 4 catches. So gets his boy back under center. Is he back in our starting lineups, or are we kind of in wait and see mode with, you know, even though it's fantasy playoffs?
Wait and
If
see.
he's in my starting
Yeah.
lineup, it's like in the flex, man.
Well, him or Marvin Jones, who I was
we
off
did-
when you guys talked about.
He
Yeah,
did this. Yeah.
Him.
Sorry.
yeah. That's funny.
I did the highest thing. I went into like an old broadcast. When I went out, I went back in and went into like a broadcast from like months ago. No, just sitting in the thing. Boop, boop.
Yeah, if
That's so
Stafford's out, then like, yeah, definitely Chark, man. I'm
Fade the lines.
yeah.
If Stafford's not playing, like,
that question definitely depends more on the quarterback for me. If Stafford's playing, I'll play Marvin Jones over Chark.
Yeah.
If Stafford's out, I'm playing Chark over Jones.
Agreed.
Under 57 yards receiving in 7 of 8 games he's played in.
Don't you talk dirty to me.
So Laviska Shenault, yet to be a top 24 wide receiver. Are we done with him for the season?
Yeah, no, I love him as a dynasty prospect, but as far as a redraft perspective goes, I'm not feeling confident. You know, I love what I've seen out of him as far as a rookie goes, and you know, who knows? Jacksonville, they're really going through some organizational changes, roster top to bottom. So
Regime change.
As far as a prospect, though, and what he's capable of doing, I do like Shenault. I think he's another good buy opportunity for Dynasty. And yeah, like I said, regardless of what happens there with QB, I don't know if Minshew does have a future. You know, at this rate with where the Jags are, it looks like they probably will bring in a quarterback and early in this NFL draft. So, you know, that could bode well for my guy Chark and Shenault, both guys that I really do like as dynasty wide receivers moving forward.
Are we sleeping on Keelan Cole a little bit? Like, he's been a top 24 wide receiver a handful of times this year compared to 2 for Laviska and DJ combined. Last week, 12 targets, 7 catches, and a touchdown versus the Titans. Is there any interest there, or is it just one of those things where you just can't stomach it in the playoffs?
man, Keelan Cole feels like Tim Patrick of the Jags. Like, nobody wants to put him in your lineup, but he just seems to be – he's a pretty consistent player. Like, you're getting –
Jaguars Division 2, there's something there.
you know, like –
the volume's been there, and I think it will be there again this week. If there's one pass catcher that I do think will see consistent volume for the Jags, it is Keelan Cole. So as far from a safety standpoint, and he's shown that he does have the upside. He's returning punts for touchdowns. He's having 2 touchdown outings. You know, he does have the upside with the game script favorite. I don't mind Keelan Cole as a kind of a deeper flex option this week. And I don't mind playing him over Chark, you know, with what we've seen out of Chark. Even with Minshew back in the lineup, Keelan Cole has been the one thing that's been consistent besides James Robinson with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
100%. That's why it'll be interesting to see what happens with Minshew back this week. And yeah, it's kind of fun. We're almost watching the Jaguars a lot just to infer for next season or whatever. I'm just going to roll into the next game here. Seattle Seahawks at the Washingtons. 43.5 over under. That is just absolutely disgusting. Probably has something to do with Dwayne Haskins being quarterback for the home team here. And, you know, we'll talk about Antonio Gibson too, because I was really surprised that he's even in.
No kidding.
You know, I was really surprised there. So, fun fact, Seattle does not lead their division, boys, but the Washingtons, they do lead their division. They've won 4 straight, and 3 of 4 losses for the Seahawks have come on the road this year. The question is, do you guys think Washington's defense can stop Russ from cooking this week?
Absolutely. I do think they can. We've seen Washington's defense is for real. Chase Young is for real. He's a game changer. There's a reason he was selected as high as he was in the NFL draft. And he is showing
score last week.
He is showing us that they made the right decision in getting him. And he is. I mean, the Washington Reds football team isn't a team that anybody was excited about from an offensive perspective at all this year, essentially. And they've shown that even with a lack of true offensive explosiveness, they're staying competitive in games, and it's due to that stifling defense. And I think that defense is going to answer the call once again, and it's kind of leading me to my Russell Wilson fade. Sure, I still have him as a top 10 this week, but like I said, I like Tom Brady over Russell Wilson, and it's because of this Washington defense. They've shown up, and I do think that Russell Wilson will find some struggles here.
Yeah. Under 22 points per game, under 200 passing yards allowed by Washington this year. That is just unheard of. And I love Chase Young, man. Top 5 win rate off the edge as a rookie. That is just unheard of. And I love the secondary is really benefiting from Jonathan Allen, even Chase Young, all these guys getting pressure. What do you think, Fantasy Stoner, before you can get your bearings? What do you think, Russell Wilson or Tom Brady?
You don't have to ask him.
Start because Tom Brady. But I do agree that Washington's defense is very underrated.
100%.
My concern with that game is that the Washington football program is starting Dwayne Haskins. And that's just scary for me. Like, seems like a dude who doesn't give a shit. And I can't fathom that he's a dude that's wearing that uniform next year.
I agree.
We throwing a guy out there to represent you that you don't have faith in. And that just sucks. Like, in the grand scheme of things. I'm probably still playing McLaurin because he's the fucking. But yeah, I'm staying away from the Washington football program as much as I can. Give me Russ, because that dude's gonna cook.
What do you guys think's happening with Terry McLaurin? Do you think he's hitting kind of a wall? Possibly. He's been the only show in town all year long, and he's coming off, I think, back to back, like his worst 2 games of the season are in back to back games now, and they've been against Seattle and Carolina. I think Carolina and somebody else that he probably should have smashed against. So what do you guys think's happening with him?
You know, I think it's kind of just been a rough go for the past month for that whole offense, right? You've had a carousel of quarterbacks. You know, you lose your timing you get timing with one guy, and then you get a new quarterback in there and Alex Smith, and now you got Dwayne Haskins back in there. And like, you know, just for the record, like, I think Dwayne Haskins loses this game for Washington. I really do. I think when it comes down to it, this could be a 17-10 type of game, and Dwayne Haskins has to try and make a comeback at the game. And I just don't see it happening. I got no faith in that guy. I 100% agree with you, Fantasy Stoner. Like, that guy does not care about the game at all. He just does. He looks like he doesn't give a shit when he gets out there, and that's why he got benched in the first place. Like, you know, a lot of news coming out of camp was that he wasn't able to take criticism, and he was talking back to coaches and like players who were trying to help him. Like, that's just not a leader on your on your football team. And you know, I do have some big concerns for all of Washington's fantasy assets this week.
1-year starters in college, the most hardest thing to decide.
I actually think the best thing for him was watching
Bench.
Alex Smith be a starter and really look and watch what it means to be a starter, because like Alex Smith, like he comes in early, he studies, he does everything right as a starter. He's not the flashiest franchise quarterback that you want, but he's totally the guy that you want to be mentoring
Mahomes,
like
man.
Haskins, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, look, and you mentioned right there, I'm sorry to jump in, but you're right. That is a great spot for a kid to be in. But Pat Mahomes wanted to learn.
oh,
Pat
absolutely.
Mahomes was a fucking sponge. Dwayne Haskins walked into that situation thinking he was the starting quarterback, and it didn't fucking matter who was who. Like, I just don't feel like he was that sponge or that he had that desire to learn.
And
So,
polar opposite.
I agree with what you're
environment.
saying. He was in the right spot to do so.
Yeah, now I've never been a Dwayne Haskins supporter. He's probably one of my least owned quarterbacks in Dynasty. But, you know, I do remember the reports coming out. I remember seeing the video clips on Twitter of him kind of snapping back at somebody trying to give him some criticism during a practice. But I do remember also 2 weeks ago, Alex Smith getting a fucking lick out of bounds. And Dwayne Haskins came over, picked him up, you know, stood him back up, gave him the old butt tap and said, get back out there. And he showed that he is willing to kind of, you know, rise above himself. Even though he did get demoted to that backup spot, he's willing to kind of step up and kind of take that backup role and not really just be over there, what I call Cam Newton it on the bench. And, you know, so, you know, as much as we want to rag on Dwayne Haskins, he does look like maybe he has been a little bit humbled by this experience. And while I don't think he is the future in Washington, maybe just maybe he will get a shot somewhere else. And who knows? But as of right now, he's not really on my radar moving forward.
But if anything on that, it shows that Dwayne Haskins at least has respect for Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like
I mean, how can you not know? How can you not
seriously,
know what that guy went through from the injuries to the complications? I mean, you don't have to know Alex Smith the lightest to have some respect for what he's been able to accomplish.
oh,
Even before the surgeries, just like look at the way he handled himself with Colin Kaepernick, and then again, knowing that Patrick Mahomes was drafted to the Chiefs, like once he went there, like he handled himself extremely well. There's a lot of guys that would just, you know, tell these guys kick rocks, like figure it out yourself. Like he saw it, he embraced it, he mentored them. Like that's.
Let's not forget he was drafted before Aaron Rodgers, and Alex Smith was like a 21-year-old kid who was kind of a prodigy intelligence-wise when the Niners drafted him. Like he was definitely not worthy of the number one pick, right? I mean, let's not be stupid. So that's a tough spot for a dude to be in, and even 16 years later or however long it's been, like he still has that fucking aura. Like I was the number one pick. I was drafted before Aaron Rodgers. He's got 41 touchdowns and 4 picks this year. Clearly garbage. Like that is a fucking monkey on your back, dude.
Oh man, that man needs a docu-series. Fuck. I love Alex.
Dude, if there's not a 30 for 30 on Alex Smith the fucking day after he retires, what is ESPN even doing?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, what we got?
Cover
Anything
your
else?
eyes.
Anything
your
else
eyes
worth
for the
discussing in this game, or
Well, definitely Chris Carson. Like Chris Carson.
yeah.
I mean, Washington
Rashad
is a
Penny.
bottom 5 matchup for running backs. We have Rashad Penny coming back into the mix. Chris Carson, for some god awful reason, is pretty much splitting snaps with Carlos Hyde, but he looks great. And you know, over 5.5 yards per carry since coming back. He looks like his old self. So, are we back to RB1 status, or is he more like an RB2 at this point?
Top end for me. Like I love Chris Carson, man. Like even when he's only getting 50% snaps, he's able to take advantage of it. You know, he gets targets. He's had 4 or 5 targets in multiple games. Even since coming back, I think he's had 4 targets in both games. And Russ loves him, man. Plus, he's a powerful runner. Gets involved in the red zone. Like with an offense like this, I do have concerns it's going to be a low-scoring game. But if this offense gets in the red zone, it's going to Chris Carson. I truly believe that.
So with the point spread, are we worried about Antonio Gibson? Even if he plays in this game, playing Seattle, being
Man,
heavy underdogs. Are we going to put him in our lineups?
I don't want to get Keenan Allen.
Yeah, no,
So, would you rank him below J.D. McKissick?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. And I think really quick, I just wanted to say that Carlos Hyde, for some reason, is even getting a ton of red zone work. It is so frustrating. Twice as many red zone carries, 3 goal line touts to Carson's 2 since he returned from injury. Carson has scored on 3 of his 5 red zone carries. Just crazy. So
Exactly. He's just a monster.
Let me throw this: Chris Carson or Miles Sanders?
I'll go
Chris
Sanders.
Huh?
I think I'll go Miles Sanders. I think I'll go Miles Sanders.
I'll go Sanders.
I'm going Sanders just by a hair. I've got him side by side this week. Is why I asked.
I think maybe the game total would be the only thing that sways me. You know what I mean? Like this game just shocked me how low the total was, and you got the implied total for Seattle. So
I got Sanders over Carson.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, like, I think it hits the under.
Yeah.
You know?
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if Washington scores under 10 points too. Like if you know, like I really wonder how
it could be their
score
defense.
This game.
It could be their defense. Seriously, right? Like, you know,
like you can really stack the box, and we know Haskins makes mistakes. Like if he, it should be interesting. Like Seattle's defense isn't good, but they have been recently. How are you guys worried about Tyler Lockett at all? Like, are you downgrading even beyond wide receiver 2 status? Like, it's a tough matchup.
Yeah, I'm worried about Tyler Lockett. I've been worried about him for weeks. He puts up a banger every once in a while, but other than that, he's been shitting all over my fantasy teams
since week 8 on.
Yeah, no, I don't feel good about putting Lockett in at all.
Yeah, just
especially
one touchdown in the last 7 games.
In most matchups, I wouldn't feel great about Lockett at this point, but against this matchup, no, he's probably hovering just near my top 20, top 24, something like that as far as wide receivers go this week. Metcalf is even lower than I'd like. He's around 7 or 8 for me instead of my top 3.
Lockett feels like the 4th option to score on this team behind Carson, Metcalf.
Greg Olsen back in this one too. I think
see Russ running one in long before Lockett catches.
I'll take Lockett over DJ Moore.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is 3 touchdowns against Arizona, 3 touchdowns in week 3 against Dallas. He has 2 touchdowns in the 11 other games combined this year. It's just really feast or famine for Tyler Lockett. Logan Thomas, we mentioned we are kind of looking at him as like a back end or high end. Like, is he going to be a tight end 1 or is he more like a tight end 15, 16 range?
Tight end 1.
I would be if Dwayne wasn't there. You know, like I just don't know if
19 catches over the last 3 games. He's seen the volume.
No, I love Logan Thomas. I just don't know if he's going to be able to get it done with Dwayne Haskins.
It's a tough matchup. I have him just above Fant and just behind Goddard.
Yeah, that's tough stuff.
So the issue for me is the quarterback play. I agree completely. Like, I don't trust Haskins, so yeah, I'm not trusting Logan.
So you guys are we playing Mike Davis over Chris Carson?
I would.
Yes.
I am definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Mike Davis is in a smash spot. Tyler Lockett over T. Higgins, right? I'm playing Tyler Lockett over T. Higgins just for the chance for that upside, especially if you're down in your matchup. Like if you're up comfortably, maybe you pivot to T. Higgins, but even that, I think T. Higgins is going to be hard to rely on.
Boomer Esiason is starting at quarterback for the Bengals this week, so Higgins.
So let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles at Arizona Cardinals, just under 50 for the game total here. Arizona beat the Giants last week. You know, they're playing okay, but neither of these teams that we just don't have a lot of confidence in these guys right now. What are our thoughts on Jalen Hurts' first start?
Yeah, I like running Hurts.
Yeah,
kind of right around
1-0.
Top 15, top 16.
Yeah, especially in 2 quarterback leagues. Like, I'll like definitely flex him out there as my QB2 for sure.
He's shown that rushing floor last week, 75 plus. I'll take that at the QB position, along with whatever else he can provide through the air. He's looked decent. Like I said, that rushing floor right there is going to keep him in that QB2 range for me all day.
So I got you, right? I agree with the rushing, and I love the fact that he has that. But if you're Arizona and you know that the wide receivers that he has to throw to are fucking Alshon Jeffrey and other pieces of garbage, you're not doing anything but trying to make him beat you through the air, right?
You'd think, and I mean, you got Kyler Murray to practice with all week, but I'm just not sure if that's how it actually plays out, right? Like a lot of his scrambles, they come on broken plays where he's able to step up. He's finding lanes where he's able to step up and just kind of break it outside. And
no, for sure, and I agree with that. But as a defensive fucking player, like we used to make sure that shit didn't happen,
100%.
Extra guys right behind the edge defenders, and you can.
And look, Isaiah Simmons is the guy that I have in mind that could shadow that dude if they really wanted him to. I feel like they could rush with Golden and some of the other guys that they have that have been playing well. And if you throw a guy like Simmons out there as a shadow who did shit like that in college,
he could just spy
all of a sudden you might be looking at a dude that only throws for 97 yards and doesn't run for much, and then you're fucked. Like, I have a hard time trusting that dude that you picked up off the waiver wire last week.
I just think
a guy like Jared Goff.
The Saints had, though, the same kind of dynamic going on, though. Like, they have some athletic linebackers. I just think, like, the Saints hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 55 straight games. Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders did that. 55 straight games, and then both those guys did it last week.
That's
and
crazy.
I don't think he moves the needle as an offense. They only scored 24 points, but I think it was really impressive that he did it against the Saints. It was almost like I wasn't entirely sure if they started Hurts just to prevent Wentz from going even deeper into the hole he was in, about to face the Saints defense. Like, that was the perspective I had heading into last week, to be honest. So I was actually really impressed with what he did. I don't think anyone's
playing devil's advocate because everybody's been pumping Jalen all week. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to look at it from a different view. Like,
and I'm with you, especially with the offense.
Now that we have footage on this dude and how he handles the NFL defense, a top 5 NFL defense, no less.
Yeah. You're totally right. Like, they got to just put a couple defenders right behind their edge defenders. Just keep him inside the tackles no matter what you do, whatever, until he starts beating you with his arm. And then you can adjust.
I just believe they have the talent in the secondary that they can man up out there and leave those extra players to fucking shadow.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And honestly, it's going to be all run game in this for both teams anyways. Like, it might be a lot of running back action in this. Like, the Cardinals, they're rushing for over 150 yards themselves. Both teams give up over 120 rushing yards on defense, too. So it could be a lot of Kenny Drake. Like, Chase Edmonds is questionable for this game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
he's a true game-time decision. So I think, is he a running back 1 in this matchup all of a sudden if Chase Edmonds is going to be on a snap count?
Absolutely.
He's a running back 6 the last fucking 6 weeks or some shit. So yeah. He's an RB1 with or without Chase, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's fair. Guys, do you think we could see more rushing yards from the 2 quarterbacks in this game than we do from the 2 lead running backs?
I wouldn't go that far.
I'd kind of sell the rushing production. Like, I do think both defenses are really going to sell out to stop it. Kyler Murray obviously still might be a little bit of residual effects, whether it's him slowing. Like, he's back to back his lowest 3 fantasy games of the season, and a lot of that's because of the lack of production in the run game. And I think yardage, maybe Kyler Murray gets there, but the touchdowns just aren't there in the rushing department. Kenny Drake's just vacuuming all those up right now.
But it's the worst because it's like he'll get 5 touches within 5 yards of the goal line. And he doesn't score on any of them. It's terrible, man. Like,
it's stoner. Yeah, like, defenses adjust. I
just think at that point we're looking at who's the better quarterback, and I trust Kyler throwing the fucking D-Hop and those dudes if they are going to lock down the run. You trust a guy that can throw better, and that's Kyler, obviously.
Yeah, and there's no way I'd ever not call Kyler a top 8 to 10 quarterback ever. It is trippy that he's let down a little bit. So we're not worried to the point where we're starting a Ryan Tannehill or something, are we?
No, Like I
I think he's
Brian
like in
Tannehill
that like
this week,
third.
but
Yeah, he's like in that third tier, but I think I still have Kyler like ahead of those guys. That
it's just the upside, man.
The
like
rushing upside.
yeah, 100%. You know, it's too good to turn down.
When he takes off, it looks like a lightning bug in a bottle. Just
so
zooming.
Does Jalen Hurts like really help Philadelphia's run game? Like, does Miles Sanders benefit from the built-in efficiency with RPOs and stuff? Like, is he into that top 12 running back range officially?
I actually pictured Kyler when I saw Jalen Hurts running last week. I was like, man, I feel Kyler right now. Yeah, it doesn't hurt me. Like, I don't know. I didn't hear your question, but that's what I wanted to say. What was your question?
Just where, like, does Miles Sanders kind of get lifted up by these, the danger that the quarterback presents, Jalen Hurts?
I have to think that anytime your quarterback is a weapon, that it hurts. It helps whether you're a running back, a tight end, or a wide receiver. Fuck yeah.
Always.
Yeah, so he's like a locked-in running back one now. No more worries about volume and stuff because he's still not getting like the high-end volume.
Agreed.
Nice. But
I don't know
want more fucking volume.
Him in.
It's top 15 for me. Top 15 this week. Yeah.
And we're not starting any Eagles wide receivers?
None.
Not great.
Not unless you're in a deep league and you got to play Jalen Reagor.
And you get
Goddard.
return points.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Just Goddard, man. I'll throw Goddard out there for sure. But in the receiver department.
Hey, I got a question. How about Dan Arnold as a fucking shot?
Oh, yeah. There we go, Ty.
That's your boy, Jules. That's your boy.
I bring Dan Arnold on every fucking week, man.
In the last 4 weeks, he has 10 targets for 6 catches, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's kind of blown up these past few weeks.
Kyler Murray's thrown 6 touchdowns in that span. 4 of them have gone to Dan Arnold.
I'll take Dan Arnold over Zach Ertz or Trey Burton.
What about Dawson Knox?
Sure. Yeah.
He's coming off a season high in snaps and targets. Dawson Knox, Stoner, you mentioned him when we were in that game.
Yeah. I just don't really like Knox's
The trend on Knox growing. I like it.
All right, Stoner, I'll ask you this one. Dan Arnold or Cole Kmet?
Kmet.
It's easy.
Yeah, Kmet.
He's a top 10 tight end for me easy this week. It might even be higher than that.
As long as Jimmy Graham's
top 7 by the end of the week.
There you go.
I'll go top 12.
I'm also a Notre Dame fan, and we're about to beat Clemson for the second time tomorrow. So I gotta hook up Cole Kmet.
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next game here. Cleveland Browns at the New York Giants. This is the Sunday night football game. We talked about Daniel Jones. Cole, who cares who's at quarterback? Doesn't really change much for New York. Browns are coming off that shorter week because of Poopgate and all that. The Giants had a horrible showing last week at Arizona. Man, their offense is bad. Bottom 3 in points scored in offense this year. Browns, they're going to run the ball, right?
Oh, yeah. This is just going to be a slow pace, run the clock out game. I love both running backs on the Browns side this week. Wayne Gallman on the New York side. And other than that, I'm honestly not too excited about really anybody else.
Well, I'm not even super excited about Kareem Hunt just because the Giants are a top 5 run defense this year quietly. They allow under 100 yards rushing per game. So I think, Hunt's you don't have to start him. I might start a Clyde Edwards-Helaire if I wanted to. Or
Did you see him last week, though?
Yeah, that's my argument.
Yeah, he's talented. He's talented.
He looked way too good for me to put on my bench, man.
Yeah. I'm actually starting him over Ezekiel Elliott in one league.
I would do that too.
Yeah. But I think it's quick. I don't think you have to start him. That's all I'm saying. Because I think him or Wayne Gallman is a conversation in this game. I kind of like Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman's just
Kareem Hunt over Gallman.
Yeah,
man, you got to go with talent, right? The talent's got a trumpet there, man. Come on, are you seriously say Wayne Gallman over Kareem Hunt, man?
Yeah, Wayne Gallman's just had 0 touches in the inside the 10-yard line over the last 2 weeks. Before that, he was a top 10 running back week in and week out.
I'll throw you a curveball.
Not much has changed.
I'm about to be all in on the Cleveland Browns defense this week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Giants have given up 12 points to the opposing defenses like 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, 44-point
and
total. in this
Cleveland
game.
has one of the most aggressive fronts and one of the higher like pass rush fucking pressure rates that you've seen. I'm all in on the Cleveland D. If you play in a in a league where you got to play a defense,
I think they scored.
Myles Garrett is elite.
he's having 7 sacks this week, bro. It's gonna be
Denzel
7.
Ward is back as well, I believe, this week.
Yeah, I think they could score in this one. Honestly, I think Cleveland's defense could score a touchdown here.
I'm
Scoop and
betting,
score.
the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which has been phenomenal for me almost all year, for Cleveland this week for sure.
Boom, boom.
What was
I like
that? Dave? What do you got?
No, I like that call. I'm all about Cleveland's defense over the Chiefs this week. Cleveland DST top 5 for me this week, easy.
Mm-hmm. What about Jarvis Landry? Fumbleitis last week in prime time. Is he still a wide receiver 3 though, because of the volume?
Yeah, I'll take a wide receiver 3, but no higher, sir.
Yeah. So like, what's his? He doesn't have ultimate upside. Like, wide receiver 2 at best would be his even big upside.
Yeah, no, I think so. Like Jules mentioned, I really like both running backs for the Cleveland Browns this week. And I think ultimately the Browns would be content to do nothing but run the ball all day long if they're successful. And with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt back there, the best 1-2 tandem in the NFL currently, I think they'll be able to do just that.
Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, all on benches.
Hold up. Did you guys hear that? The best 1-2 tandem in the NFL. I just want to make sure everyone noted that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
stand by that.
And Nick Chubb.
I don't think that's even. I think
I
they
don't
might
think
be
there's
2 top
dispute.
5 talents at the running back position. In the
Yeah.
NFL.
No,
Same
for sure.
backfield. Yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone noted that. Like, that is
Oh, absolutely.
that's a fucking great statement right there. It's fact.
The only reason I have to come out, Stoner, and besmirch Kareem Hunt is because we've all been on this show for weeks saying they're both top 12 running backs every week, and then Kareem Hunt just hasn't been a top 12 running back. So we're just trying to. I'm just trying to.
That's
talk.
fair,
I'm trying to
Ty.
save
That's fair.
myself. Yeah, trying to save.
I feel like I
myself.
pump Kareem
Like,
every week.
Dan just
Yeah.
said, like,
because we
It
come
is
on
the-
and say do it.
they're the only team in the league where you could take any one of those 2 running backs and they're RB1 on any other team in the league, man. Like, you can plug and play them on any fucking team.
But be ready, because that is the way that this league is going to go. When I tell you that the NFL is not a running back by committee league anymore, it's a tandem backfield league. It starts with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They're a fucking tandem backfield. They're not a committee. They're a tandem for a fucking reason. Those
And
dudes were
Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams.
Well,
Yeah,
and
they
to
were
be honest, I think
specific-
the poor man's version is Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins.
boom. They were specifically selected for special roles in that offense. Whereas
Got
I
Gallman
believe
and Dion Lewis here.
a committee means grabbing random dudes off the street and trying to find something that works. Tandem backfield is the way it's going. So we're going to see more Hunt, Chubb backfields in the future for sure. And I love every second of it.
We need that to happen with all the talent at running back that's kind of coming in and still coming. Speaking of which, Harrison Bryant, anybody bold enough to start him? Austin Hooper and David Njoku, both really banged up. I'm not sure if either are even going to play this week.
I was going to mention Harrison Bryant. I do like him this week with both of those options out. Harrison Bryant has kind of been, getting some looks as of late. If both tight ends are out, I do like him as kind of a dart play this week. Now, if I'm in the fantasy playoffs, obviously Harrison Bryant's not up high on my list as far as the tight end play. But if you're looking to dabble in some DFS this weekend, Harrison Bryant does get a nice little uptick, in my opinion, this week.
And just a note for this, all the tight ends in this fucking game, Evan Ingram, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, this is the Sunday night football game, so just make sure you're monitoring this. Hopefully we get a tweet from Adam Scheffner or whatever regarding Evan Ingram's status, especially because Cleveland is a pretty nice matchup for tight ends in fantasy football. If Evan Ingram's playing, are you guys still starting him, or are we downgrading him because he might be on a snap count? Might see a lot of Caden Smith.
Downgrade based on I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be for sure. Regardless of what it is, I think we've talked about the Giants, and there's not really anybody aside from Wayne Gallman as kind of a flex option that we're interested in.
I'm playing against Evan Ingram in my big money.
Rest easy, my friend.
I hope he stumbles into the game and doesn't do shit.
Honestly, I think I'd play Harrison Bryant over Evan Ingram with that tag, that injury tag. With Njoku and Hooper out.
Ingram, I play because, like I think I said earlier, I feel more comfortable with Ingram with Colt McCoy than I do with him with Daniel Jones. He's not healthy. I don't trust him at all for sure.
Agreed. All right.
All right, I'm going to move on. Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings, really low over under 46-point total. In the last 4 games between Chicago and Minnesota, 34, 22, 40, and 32 from the Week 10 crap fest between these two teams. So are we taking the under? Do we trust Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense against the Bears defense?
I think you have to at this point. I mean, I'm not benching Thielen or Jefferson. And I'm sure as hell not benching Dalvin Cook. So, those are the pieces I want in this match. The real question marks on Minnesota's side is Erb. And we kind of touched on him earlier. But outside of that, I mean, you're not playing Chad Johnson. You're not playing Obese Johnson. No one's looking at these guys. So,
are you avoiding Kirk Cousins in this game? Like, the Bears are a bottom 5 matchup for quarterbacks in fantasy football, but he was a top 12 quarterback against them just a few weeks ago.
2 QB leagues, I'll throw him out there. I don't think you have to play him in a 1 QB league.
Would you throw him out there over Mitch Trubisky on the other side?
100%.
I would.
Yeah. See, I trust him, even though I think
I'm saying no.
Yeah, the numbers, Stoner, I think would be on your side. Like, numbers would probably tell us.
No. And I fucking hate Trubisky, and I really like what Kirk has done. I've been pumping him as an unsung hero in fantasy football this year as a quarterback 1 that you got fucking super late. But look, Trubisky has not been terrible in the last 3 weeks, right?
He's very efficient last week, yeah.
And Minnesota has not been good defensively. So I find it hard to believe that he's not going to be able to put up some numbers with Allen Robinson and David Montgomery making some plays around him. And again, I've already mentioned my adoration of Cole Kmet. So I have to fucking pump his quarterback up if I'm going to fillet him. So I'm all about Trubisky this week. Let's do it. I tweeted out something earlier that Sam Darnold, what about Sam Darnold going to the Washington football program? And then I followed that up with a tweet that it said, and I could also see Mitchell Trubisky going to the Washington football program. That initial tweet, with Trubisky, I actually mentioned the 49ers as a potential fucking landing spot for Trubisky. I made myself throw up typing it. But, man, the way he played the last couple of weeks, I don't hate him. I got to be honest.
So, for me, it's not that I don't dislike his matchup in here, but like I've kind of keep coming back to it where if I'm in even a close situation, I'd rather go with the talent around him or talent in the situation. And for me, I think I believe more in Justin Jefferson. I believe more in Adam Thielen. I definitely believe more in Dalvin Cook than David Montgomery, even though he does have great matchups. And I think David Montgomery is going to win a couple people some fantasy championships.
David Montgomery's an RB1, and so
absolutely. He's going to win some people some championships. But I do think Kirk Cousins has more fantasy viable and reliable fantasy weapons situated around him. Really, I'm sorry, but with Trubisky, it's a maybe on Cole Kmet. It's David Montgomery should smash. The only one that I'm really confident with Mitch Trubisky ever plays is Allen Robinson getting peppered with 17 targets and catching maybe 11 to 12. Yeah.
Cam Dantzler, big test for him.
Every second of that.
Yeah, and let's just take just a moment to recognize my man Justin Jefferson, man. I mean, he has just been everything that we knew he was gonna be this year. I mean, I love this kid coming out of LSU, and he has been nothing short of spectacular. He had all the opportunity coming into the world this offseason, being only behind a lowly Adam Thielen. The offseason reports talking about how this guy's the wide receiver 3, the wide receiver 4. Get that fucking baloney out of here. This guy has come to play. He is taking over. And with Adam Thielen getting to that older age, Justin Jefferson has become a top 5 dynasty wide receiver in my eyes. And I'm doing anything and everything I can to get more shares of that guy.
And Doug Peterson throws up and cries himself to sleep every night for not
every night. I don't know.
I disagree with that statement. I think if they would have flipped him with the talent wise with Rager, I think if you would have put Justin Jefferson in Philly, you still would have had the same problems.
I agree.
Philly. I think we would just be talking about Rager if he was in Viking purple more.
I agree.
Talent wise. And I love that too, man, because I caught heat early in the pre-draft I had Justin Jefferson wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4, like 3-4. And I always said
I know me and D had him right about there. I had him right after Lamb and Judy as well. So.
See, I caught heat I had Lamb and Rager, then I had Justin Jefferson, and I caught heat for saying if you like Judy, because if it's your wide receiver 1 is going to be Lamb or Judy, and you're set on Judy, which is fine. I said trade back and get Justin Jefferson for a back end first or high end second. I said why don't you make that move? Because
hell yeah, I agree.
Judy is.
And if any fantasy owner is thinking about losing their mind, he did have a letdown last week, and it is a tough matchup on paper. Justin Jefferson led the team in targets and receptions in the first game against Chicago in Week 10. His 135 yards receiving were twice as much as any other Viking. And also Adam Thielen dropped a deuce in that game. It's kind of a microcosm of how I see these two guys. Like Adam Thielen is going to be the end zone guy still, but Justin Jefferson every fucking where else.
JJ's the yardage guy.
Yeah, so Thielen had 2 touchdowns on that game, but both guys were top 15 wide receivers. So we should have no fear with these guys this week, even though I know both of them kind of let us down last week.
So I'm playing Montgomery for sure. I'm playing A-Rob for sure. Obviously, Dalvin Cook and both receivers. And the quarterbacks is, for me, it's a matter of what you got and what your fucking settings are. Because both of those guys, to me, are super flex plays, I think, Cousins and Mitch.
And Irv Smith, I think, is the sneaky start of the week, man. Like, for some reason, tight ends have just eaten versus Chicago in fantasy football. They're a top 5 matchup this year.
I like both tight ends.
Kyle Rudolph is out. Yeah.
Man, can we even consider Irv a tight end? Like, that guy's a wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a slot wide receiver, exactly. Yeah, and he only played 20. He had a good game.
Is Taysom Hill tight end?
He's a northern Mike Kazecki, right?
There you go.
No, he's like tiny though. Irv Smith's tiny.
Yeah,
he's more like
a little guy,
except better. I think he
doesn't drop the ball.
Well, I think it's really interesting to see what happens this week because he had a good week last week. He played just 28 of 79 snaps. Like, he was being eased in off his injury. I know there's a complex there where, it's great he's a slot wide receiver. How many times is a slot wide receiver going to be on the field for this Minnesota Kubiak offense? That's the frustration.
I think he was only about 35%
before. Yeah. So let's go to the Bill Belichick.
We got Travi hitting us up in the fucking in the group chat, wondering how many matchups we have left. I told him
no idea.
We're here.
No clue.
He can
probably 5.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
So New England Patriots at Miami Dolphins. Bill Belichick, Brian Flores, Mike Gesicki, limited Thursday and Friday. I think he's going to be a game time decision. I'm really shocked he's. He looked fucked.
No
Myles
kidding.
Gaskin not playing.
I totally thought he died, by the way.
Me too. And then Salvin Ahmed and Matt Breida activated this week. So both those guys looking like they're going to be in this backfield. No more Washington dreams that we have to chase. And we'll get to Lynn Bowden, I guess. What do you guys think about Tua, though? Are we starting Tua? Or he's been pretty impressive, but Bill Belichick, rookie quarterback.
Doesn't feel good.
Fade Tua.
Not against Bill. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I jumped on a podcast last week with Jax Falcone. I believe it was with Jax and Tommy. And we were running through some things. And this was after Herbert got shellacked by the Patriots. And one of my long-standing fantasy football rules has been never start a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick. 19-5, I believe, Belichick is in his career against rookie quarterbacks. And I was stupid enough to start Justin Herbert against Bill Belichick because I'm a fucking idiot. Never start a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick. Just don't do it. I mean, that's it. I mean,
Just simple as that, man.
got 2 other life lessons. The other 2 were don't talk shit to a dude with cauliflower ears. Because
That's a good lesson.
That's a good tip.
really good lesson.
and if you hear banjos, run the other way.
Even better lesson. Sorry, Jules.
Me being a Yankee, DBrown, you might not need that. Me being a Yankee, I'm running from banjos and cauliflower ears. Don't start a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick. That's it.
And what about Cam Newton? I got a fun stat. Cam Newton has 21 goal line carries. That's more than Josh Allen and Kyler Murray combined this year. Anybody? I know he got benched last week, but anybody looking at Cam Newton in a super flex?
Ugh.
Man,
No.
it's ugly. This is a great Dolphins defense.
Mhm.
I think they're like the way to stop this offense, stop Cam Newton running the football. They can't push it downfield. Every time he tries to throw the ball downfield, it looks like he's wincing in pain. Like, it's just not good, man. I have no faith in Cam as a passer. Like, if you told me 150 yards over under, I'm taking the under. Like, I just got no faith, man. And I think if they could shut down the run game for Cam, it's going to be a bit of a Damian Harris game, but it's just going to be ugly all around.
Well, Damian Harris popped up on the injury report, so that's one to
did
really
he?
monitor.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
so that's
didn't
one to
see
really
that.
monitor. But so let's pretend like he does actually miss this game. Would that interest you in Sony Michel or James White?
No.
James White, maybe
Yeah.
out of the 2, if I have to take a bullet to the head between picking them. And
I don't want to,
actually,
though.
and actually, I think like the real way to win this game is just make Cam Newton make like his second read. That's it. Just like crush his first read and watch him pull it down.
Crumble.
That's it.
100%. That's all you got to do. He can't pass it. And if you stop
I
him
got to
running,
be honest, guys. I really love what the Dolphins are doing
My favorite defense.
in
Yeah.
Miami.
They're my favorite
Just as a
defense in
whole,
football. Not
I
even
think
close.
that they have guys that have bought into what the coaches and the staff is selling. They got rid of Minka and some of those other dudes that weren't Tunsil. Some of those dudes, Kenny Stills was another one, I think, that just maybe wasn't buying into it.
and you enjoy.
And they got so much draft capital, man. It's fucking – I'm excited to see what happens.
Defense is legit.
Yeah,
I wasn't at
Xavier
first, I
Howard,
wasn't
Byron
on
Jones
board with them.
might be the best duo.
yeah.
This could be the lowest scoring game.
Of the league.
On the board,
For
yeah,
sure.
maybe.
17-10 is definitely in this wheelhouse.
So are
100%.
we avoiding all the running backs then? Because like Salvin Ahmed, we're definitely not starting. Matt Breida, we're definitely not starting in the first game back. DeAndre Washington can go fuck himself. Patrick Laird can go fuck himself. Lynn Bowden Jr. What about LBJ?
I'm not starting anyone in this game unless I absolutely
What if
have
Lynn Bowden is playing a lot of slot duties because Jakeem Grant is injured, Mike Gesicki is banged up.
And
He
the
could actually
Patriots
play
are
a ton.
terrible against the slot.
Exactly, and they
I would
also
rather
he has
start
running back
2 kickers.
eligibility.
I like
than
that,
any
but
of these running backs.
It really depends on my options, I mean, yeah, and there's got to be a line where I say, yeah, now I'm starting Lynn.
I
Bowden. There's
don't
definitely a
see
line.
much of a line between him and J.D. McKissick, except Lynn Bowden's going to get more snaps in the slot. Even
Oof.
I think he's a dart throw.
I'd
Guys,
rather,
I'm playing
like I said,
against
I'd rather start Jason Sanders.
I'm playing against a guy who's starting. He's starting both Lynn Bowden and DeAndre Washington this week. Semifinal.
Wow, gross.
I know. I had Keaton play on on yesterday last
Congratulations
night.
on your victory.
But I had 2 points out of Keenan last night, so I'm still sweating.
Fine.
He should have started
Sanders,
all of
you
those
cover the
points.
loss right there. Jason Sanders. And who's kicking for the Patriots right now?
Nick Folk.
Come on, he's making kicks left and right.
Nick
Listen, do I look like I'm fucking
Fine.
Linda?
They finally figured it out. They finally figured it out post Goskowski.
Shout out to Linda. She loves kickers.
Linda.
Oh, man. Guys, I actually got a sweet spot for kickers in real football. I used to, like, when I played football, I did everything, man. I was a receiver, I was our kicker, I was our punt returner. And, like, kicking field goals when the game is on the line is fucking stressful. Let me tell you one thing. That's tough. So I applaud these guys, especially when they come out and they hit 58-yard field goal. I'm amazed by that ability. You know, it's a different skill.
For a whole game, talk about stressful.
No
Jeez.
fucking kidding, man. Man, I'm like 5'2". You think I could play tackle all game?
I played center my senior year. It was fucking horrible. Every snap, I was fucking sweating my dick off.
Dude, I bet, man. The trenches are dirty. That's rough.
But it was
Next
So-
game, Ty.
So wait, I want to ask about Devontae
don't
Parker.
start
because
anyone.
Devontae
Maybe
Parker,
the Dolphins defense.
Parker's not a guarantee to play as far as I'm concerned. And
yeah, he's had a lot of success against Stephon Gilmore, so I thought I'd ask about if we're starting him. So let's go to the New York Jets at the Los Angeles Rams. Do we think Los Angeles is going to just keep it the Akers show, or is it going to be the Cam Akers show, or is it going to be pass heavy?
I want Cam Akers over any other player in this game.
176 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That includes Cup and Woods.
Agreed.
I like both Cup and Woods and Goff if you're, obviously in Superflex and maybe as kind of a back end QB1 this week. But I love Akers. What we saw last week, he proved to be clearly the best running back on the field. McVay seemed to notice based on the snap share and workload that he received. This seems to be a game that the Rams should be able to dominate. I think Akers once again gets the bulk of the carries and really gets to shine in a game that he should get force-fed for 20, 25 plus touches in this game.
And that boy is filthy good. I don't know if you guys got to watch that game, but man, you could see that he really caught up to the speed of the NFL game by week 14. I'm really excited to see what he does this week, not only because I'm starting him, but because he gets to play the fucking Jets, who God knows what they're even, thinking about, or at that point, it's time to feast.
Yeah, shout out to the patience with these rookie running backs coming into this week. I have Jonathan Taylor at RB7, and I have Cam Akers at RB8. So those are
J.K.
two guys.
Dobbins top 15 in a great matchup.
Those are a couple of
And
guys
James
you really had to wait. Frustrated owners may have even dropped. You may have got them off of waivers, but as of right now and rest of season, those are a few rookie running backs that are really set to shine rest of the season.
I picked up Cam Akers in my league 3 or 4 weeks ago off waivers because I saw his snap count and his number of carries rising, so I scooped him up, and he is legitimately starting for me in the semifinals this week off of waivers a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want anybody on New York side of the ball.
Your RB1 and your RB6 are Jonathan Taylor and Cam Akers.
Crowder as a deep flex.
Yeah, I guess, man. Like, I just don't feel comfortable about any of these options, but someone's got to do it, right? They're going to have to pass the ball to someone. So I think there is fantasy points to be had. I just am not sure where they're coming from.
I think everyone's going to blow up in the game for the Rams for sure. Cooper Kupp,
And
Robert
definitely
Woods,
play
all
the
those
Rams defense.
Anybody have any interest
Scored 3 straight.
in DFS tourney settings for Tyler Higbee or Gerald Everett? Like the Jets give up the most fantasy points to the tight end position.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't think they'll need them.
Yeah.
All Akers all the time.
Yeah, Akers.
So let's go to Stoner, San Francisco 49ers at the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is like one of the biggest mismatches of the week. Like, we know San Francisco is going to run the ball. Cowboys give up over 160 yards rushing per game, worse than football. Shanahan can scheme. And then you think about the Cowboys, like, what are they going to do? We don't have faith in Andy Dalton, and they just continue to try and run the ball. Yeah, and San Fran's a good run defense. Like, that's a good front still. Deebo Samuel, that's the big note, I guess. Hurt. So, Brendan Ayuk, how high are we ranking this guy this week?
Through the roof.
He's a wide receiver. He's going to finish as a wide receiver 1 this week.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 9 ECR right now.
I'll be starting him over a lot of players.
Yeah.
16 targets last week. I think the only thing is, do we wonder if they don't need to throw the ball to Ayuk very much in this game?
No, but that's not Shanny's game. That's what he's.
That's a good.
They're gonna throw it. They're gonna throw it probably 25, 30 times.
And he's gonna have
30 at the
scripted plays that are gonna
12 to 15 of those are going to be directed at him.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean?
And he said that when Ayuk got injured in a game earlier this season. He's like, well, fuck, man. I had all my plays scripted for Brandon Ayuk. So that was...
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
The last 4 or 5 weeks, Ayuk's been top 10 in most metrics that we're looking for. So, you know, anywhere I've got him, he's inserted into my lineup with confidence.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when they drafted him, I was a little confused because I know that he does a lot of things that Deebo does, but I also know he's a little bit different. So I was like, Shanny got him to kind of be his. I'm gonna shoot to the Chiefs fan. He got him to be his Tyreek Hill. He wanted him to be that fucking explosive.
He can play anywhere. Do anything.
And clearly, he's not Tyreek Hill. I mean, I'm not trying to compare him to Tyreek Hill.
No, but he's pretty much Emmanuel Sanders, if you ask me.
Yeah,
I just think Shanny was grabbing a bunch of guys that fit the yak mold, and
what are you going to do against Deebo, Kittle, and Ayuk?
Yeah,
exactly, right. And like, if one of them goes down, it doesn't matter. The rest of them just kind of slide into the next fit, because like even Jalen Hurd last year, like I had high hopes for Jalen Hurd. Fuck, man.
Me too.
Like they just it's like he went with a shotgun approach on a very specific type of wide receiver, and fuck it, if he gets for 6 and 3 hit, good on you, man, because the next one's just going to keep sliding right over, man. It's a pretty good fucking scheme to be doing, for sure.
I think Ayuk's a better overall receiver than probably Deebo is, but Deebo's just a fucking beast.
He's a yak monster, man.
He's Anquan Bolden. Like, he's just disgustingly good. So collectively,
way,
like him and Ayuk and fucking Kittle, man, they're going to be fun next year when they draft Trey Lance in the first round. Oh, wait, have I said too much?
That's it. Like,
you think
either way,
right
that
away?
offense is going to run through Kittle, but I think Ayuk's your most talented wide receiver out of that room for sure. I think he's your true one out of that group, ahead of Deebo when they're both healthy.
Absolutely agree with that.
What about the running backs?
That's heavy.
We kind of talked about them off the top because Raheem Mostert got the good to go. Like, you know, guy who gets an MRI on Monday, usually you're like, oh, he's not playing, but he's playing. And cake matchup. So I think he is an RB2. And I think Jeff Wilson is still in play. Like, he's probably going to score a touchdown in this game.
Does anyone else feel like if Jeff Wilson scores a touchdown, he scores 3 touchdowns?
He's done that.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's
both
also
of those guys are
in back-to-back games.
Flex plays for me at best this week. I don't feel as comfortable as I normally would be with one of them as an RB2. Like, if Mostert was ruled out, fucking Jeff Wilson's an RB2 for me, and vice versa. But, you know, considering fucking Raheem is limping into the game and, you know, Wilson's still there, and Shanahan showed last week that he wants to give that dude the rock, I just don't feel comfortable with them as an RB2. I think they can easily, either one of them can have RB2 numbers, but they're a flex for me at best this week.
It'd be great to see
playing
them
him over Zeke? Go on, Ty.
No, I think I'd still go with Zeke for the volume.
Me too.
Even though Tony Pollard, let's go. And I think, like, Dallas could really struggle in this game.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so too. I think +3, like, I might take San Francisco to cover that.
What I think is like with Debo out too, we have to ask, could they get the running backs a little bit more involved in the passing game? Like they have actually been, like 24% of the market share has gone to the running back position in San Francisco this year, but like Raheem Mostert's just not getting a lot of that. And he's been ultra efficient, 16 and 19 targets he's got. And, you know, he had that 95 yards receiving in the first game of the year versus Arizona. It was just that crazy long touchdown catch. But he has 61 yards receiving combined in the 6 games since that he's played. So really like to see that happen. And I agree, Jeff Wilson, the more I think about it, it's kind of sketchy.
That's crazy considering how productive he was catching balls out of the backfield last year, too.
Mm.
And it was surprised me how much they're actually targeting the running back position. It's just probably inflated a little bit from McKinnon and when they had some like big injuries earlier in the year, I guess. And McKinnon's just dead. He's so dead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like,
snaps in the last 2 weeks. Like he's literally not playing.
He's no one.
Yeah, it's so weird, man.
You know, they mentioned he had tired legs earlier in the year, and that could just be it, man. He just could be fucking dead. He could be gassed.
Yeah. I mean, can you blame the guy? He's coming back from some serious. Exactly, right? Like, I mean, I can't blame him, but that would be hard on your body.
It's Vietnam. Yeah, of course he's going to be tired.
So good. Speaking of Vietnam, that's what it must feel like for CeeDee Lamb right now, Michael Gallup. Amari Cooper, he's still getting her done, man, and he's been like freakishly consistent. Even no matter who's at quarterback, it's just been a little underwhelming. So, can we trust a second wide receiver, or is it just Amari Cooper as a wide receiver too, and that's it?
Man, it's
like CeeDee Lamb played half the snaps Michael Gallup played last week against Cincinnati. It was devastating.
Well, and Andy Dalton's looking to him too when they get down to the red zone. Like Gallup had those 2 or 3 targets 2 weeks ago and the touchdown, and then last week he had 2 targets in the red zone as well. So, like, you know, it's kind of nerve wracking to put CD out there, but he offers you that big play upside. You know, Gallup offers that too, but CD gets in the position to do it week in, week out, where he's going down the field. And I mean, Andy Dalton can still sling it, man. I do think that CD can be a top 30 wide receiver this week. I have issue putting him in my top 24. You know, I just don't think I can get two wide receivers in the top 24 that week, and I have Amari Cooper in my top 20. So I'm rolling out Amari Cooper, and I'll probably play CD as a flex, especially in deep leagues.
DBrown, you playing tight ends in this game? Jimbo, what do you guys think? Jordan Reed, Dalton Schultz.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing Dalton Schultz, man. Like, as me and Connor usually talk about, like, tight end's a fucking shit show after the top 3. Then after, like, from like, you know, 4 to 15, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I would play Dalton Schultz.
I'll take Cole Kmet and Irv Smith Jr. over Schultz, but he files in right behind them.
Yeah, and San Fran, that's why
I love him.
Yeah, totally. And I think Irv, you just target that matchup almost because San Fran is actually one of the toughest matchups for tight ends in fantasy football this year. That's like the only reason I just wouldn't bet on, even though I like the Dalton connection for sure. Speaking of let's go to my Steelers. Last game of the night, we made it. Monday Night Football. 40.5 point total right now. Pittsburgh scored under 20 points in 3 straight games. It's been, you know, I'm cool. It's cool. Speaking of frustrated, angry, Joe Mixon obviously not playing in this game. It's just crazy. Are we starting anybody from the Bengals?
I don't.
Over the last 3 weeks, no Bengals running back has a red zone target. No Bengals running back has a carry from inside the 10-yard line. 3 straight games.
No, I really don't want any Bengals in any of my playoff lineups this week.
No.
I don't feel good about it.
What about James Conner, knowing that he's questionable, he's going to be a game-time decision? Are you sitting him? Yeah. So what about Benny Snell then? Are you going to start Benny Snell?
I'm not starting him unless I have
to. The Steelers are like 14-point favorites, so they are going to – they're like Vegas is saying they are going to score points. It's just the Bengals who are going to score none.
And it doesn't matter if the Steelers are favored by 20 points. Steelers' bread and butter has been Roethlisberger to one of those 3 wide receivers, and that's kind of been the case. I'm not plugging any Steelers running backs into any of my lineups, not this week and not any week moving forward.
And is it same with Bengals wide receivers like Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins? We love them. Pittsburgh is a bottom 5 matchup though in fantasy.
These weeks are too important for the uncertainty that surrounds the Bungles.
And you're
Here's
talking
my thing with it. I'd play T. Higgins if you
at best quarterback play from the Bengals. So I'm not playing anybody on Cincinnati.
I'd be playing T. Higgins if you didn't take the Keenan Allen swing on Thursday. Put it that way. If you took the swing on Keenan, then no, I'm going with a more reliable, even Cole Beasley, try to go high end volume type play. But if I didn't take the Keenan swing and I wasn't bit with it, then I'm going for the big swing. I'm going for a big ceiling with T. Higgins.
Jules, rank the Steelers wide receivers for fantasy. I got, Deontay, Juju, Chase Claypool, James Washington. Rank them.
Yeah, man. I'll go Deontay, Juju, Claypool, Washington.
Oh, okay.
For rest of the season, I don't think Juju's there. Come 2021, but right now I see Claypool kind of as this big play guy. He's a dude that they're looking to make big plays down the field, and I don't really think they're going to need it in this game. They're going to get up early. That's why I like Deontay in this one as more of a PPR guy. I wanted to mention earlier, those drops are one of the few things that you can actually teach. That's a thing you can physically fix in the NFL. It's not he's a poor route runner or anything like that. He's getting open, he's getting those targets. He's just got to put all the pieces together and come through. So, I love Deontay. I think if he starts not dropping those passes and he's able to connect on those, we've got ourselves a top 12 wide receiver. And I truly believe that. But then I think Juju slides in that top 24 and Claypool has that upside.
You mentioned like a I don't know, like a possession type guy, right? That's why you wanted to go for Johnson. But Juju's had fucking 140 yards and 25 catches over the last 4 games. That sounds to me more like the fucking possession guy.
Yeah, but if Deontay would catch the ball, that's what I mean. He's had 4 or 5 drops in the past few games each. If you catch those passes, he's probably got another 50 yards on his total, and we aren't looking at Juju as the possession guy because they don't need to go to him.
No. You can't say that because
but if you look at the average depth of targets, the time to release
double-digit points in 6 out of the last 8 games. That to me says Juju is your guy. But
here's the thing: you're saying if he doesn't drop those targets, you're adding him to he. Oh man, no! If he doesn't drop,
you can't do hypothetical.
He doesn't get the other ones. You know what I mean? You can't. I don't know.
But he was Pittsburgh didn't care. DBrown said it perfectly earlier. He served his time in the first half, and
yes,
that was my best DBrown impression, by the way.
Did you do it? That was a horrible fucking DBrown.
Well, I didn't want to go over the top and offend him. I didn't want to go over the top.
No, you did. You went Canadian over the top with the Georgia accent.
He offended him.
But
Canadian accent you speak of.
But I want to say a couple things. I'm a big Steelers fan. Chase Claypool's struggling against press man right now. He's being criminally underused. He got outstaffed 17-4 in the second half of that game last week from James Washington, who was getting looks. But the point is, Juju is kind of a possession wide receiver. So is Deontay. They're both going to be interchanged inside the red zone. It's just the way the offense operates. Ben releases the ball quicker than anybody in the league. And it's just, they're low average depth to target guys. So I think, neither of them are going to have huge ceilings, but they're going to get a ton of targets. Both
love this.
And Deontay Johnson played the entire second half of the game.
Deontay?
Because
True North style,
My Deontay.
That's the whiskey.
That's going to be. I think those 2 guys are going to be effectively the run game instead of Benny Snell.
That's how they use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Connor's garbage. For me, I rank Juju just slightly. I rank Juju over Deontay. I would play Juju over Deontay.
Yeah,
it is fair. At this point. I just got to go with my guns. These are guys that I believe in, and I'm going to stick to it. But I think it's fair.
About,
go on, Ty.
I was just gonna move on to Eric Ebron, kind of the last guy really of the night. Always a good guy to end on. You know, if your game's on the line, there's nobody I'd rather throw the ball to than Jordan Akins or Eric Ebron.
Only a fucking
old
Steelers
Stonehand.
fan would say some dumb shit like that.
Yeah, like honestly, he's so frustrating. But at the same time, Cincinnati's a top 5 matchup in fantasy for tight end. So anybody looking at Ebron this week, it's so ugly out there at tight end.
Yeah, man, I'll
not.
throw him out there. Like, top 12. I mean, it depends on who your options are ultimately, right? Like,
Yeah, no,
Honestly,
I like
I'm sorry, D. Go ahead.
no, I got Ebron at tight end 7 this week, so I like
8 for
Ebron.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Top 10
I like
easily, yeah.
Ebron this week. I think he's got a great matchup against Cincy. Cincy's pretty terrible against the tight end position. Yeah, as shitty as the tight end.
Yeah, it's more about the other guys.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
I'll take Eric Ebron as a tight end 1. Lock it up.
The
this week.
one I'd struggle with is Dallas Goedert. Like, who would you guys start out of those two?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go Ebron in this. And the reason being, 6 out of 8 games, I think he's got double digits. It just the consistency is there, and Goddard, you have no idea what you're going to get. At least you're comfortable with Big Ben versus Jalen Hurts. So, I would take Ebron over him this week. I am still all over the Cole Kmet train. I would take Kmet. I would take the risk with Kmet over Ebron because I like to gamble. But I agree with what D said that Ebron is he's like a top 10 dude this week, probably just based on matchup alone.
If Kmet blows up this week, I will never not be able to think of Stoner.
Bro,
100%.
Career.
I got him going 70 yards and a touchdown, maybe like 6 catches. It's going to be one of those games.
I'm waiting
That'd
for
be
him
a dominant
to break
tight
a
end.
60-yard touchdown off too. Like I'm pumped for that guy's athletic. Like
I-
he's kind
I-
of got that whole package. That's why I like
I would
Kmet. Like he's
Completely
big.
insert my gif of Jack Nicholson masturbating right now if he does that shit, because he's a talented player. I really like Cole
100%.
Kmet. I mean, as a
they
Notre
should
Dame
be-
fan, I was
You
lucky
almost
enough to
want
get to see him
Trump to
play.
throw like
so.
3 picks real quick and then get Foles in there for you. He loves those tight ends.
Hey, whatever it takes to get my dude the ball, man.
Oh, shit. Oh, man, that's funny.
So what are we doing? I don't like Connor. I'm playing against him, so I'm not on the run game either.
I
Not
think you got to
starting
sit
any.
Connor because it's Monday Night Football too, and he's
I'm
questionable.
not starting
Yeah.
any Bengals at all. I'm cool with
No.
Juju. I'm cool with Big Ben. I'm cool with Ebron and probably Deontay. But that's probably – and obviously the Steelers D in this game is fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sums it up, man.
That's pretty much it.
Wow.
Boom. Guys, we did it.
Yeah.
We did
That
it.
was a bad.
Yeah,
That was a
sorry,
banger,
worst
huh?
game of the year for
11
me.
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it was worst game of the year for me for sure. So my apologies, boys. Thanks for picking me
Yeah.
up.
What are you talking about? That was
You killed it.
spectacular.
Yeah,
The only
you're
issue you
right.
had was some technical problems, and we kept it rolling while you were AWOL.
You couldn't have a bad day if you tried.
yeah, seriously.
You had
Yeah, you
19 shots of espresso today. You're good.
That I did. I might
I'll
have to
leave
have
you on
another
this.
coffee because I gotta make sure I tinker some line. I still got some Tinkerbelling to do.
Well, it's only Friday, Ty. There's only 2
Dude,
games
we got
tomorrow.
We got